unemployed, divorced, and in debt. I couldn't even fight for my daughter's custody. My life has hit rock bottom. Until I awakened the daily intelligence system, capable of 100% predicting future treasure troves of information. On the first day, I effortlessly located the missing celebrity cat. The reward money was instantly credited. The next day, the system directly told me which trash bin contained the rare monkey stamp worth 5,000 yuan. With absolutely precise intelligence, I frantically picked up bargains, and my wealth grew like a snowball. Those who looked down on me were all dumbfounded. But my goal is far more than just paying off debts. When intel on bigger business opportunities emerges, I know the world is about to shake for me. Chapter 1, The Intelligence System. Daddy, she misses you. Daddy, when are you coming to see Cece? Daddy, Cece didn't cry. Cece has been very good. Daddy, Mommy is back. Cece has to hang up now. Daddy, be careful at work. Cece will always love you. Listening to the soft yet tearful voice on the phone, Shinsong couldn't help but feel a lump in his throat, his heart filled with guilt. Sitting on his electric bike, caressing his daughter's photo on his phone, Shinsong wished he could fly to Magic City immediately and reclaim custody of his daughter from his ex-wife. But, as he turned on the front camera and saw his weathered, haggard face and the mud-stained yellow delivery uniform on his body, Shinsong knew that given his current circumstances, he stood no chance of winning custody of his daughter from his ex-wife. Back then, his daughter really wanted to live with him, but it was because his financial situation wasn't as good as his ex-wife's that the court awarded custody to her. Recalling the past, Shinsong couldn't help but clench his phone tightly, the veins on the back of his hand bulging. 5 years ago, he was still the R&D department manager of a listed company in Shanghai. At that time, he was truly living in the lap of luxury, full of vigor and vitality. It was also at that time that he met his ex-wife, Zhang Ying, who had just joined the company. Under Zhang Ying's active pursuit, they quickly fell in love, got married, and had a daughter, Xinxi, the year after their wedding. Life was peaceful yet incredibly warm, but he never could have imagined. He worked himself to the bone to provide a better life for his wife and daughter. As a result, he fell ill from overwork and was hospitalized. Then, the company laid off employees, and the 28-year-old was ruthlessly optimized, losing his job. To make matters worse, bad news came from his hometown. His father had heart problems and needed a large sum of money for surgery, while his mother had taken a fall and required care. At a time when Shinsong suffered successive blows and needed Zhang Ying's care and companionship the most, Zhang Ying filed for divorce from Shinsong. Shinsong, you're now unemployed, while I become the deputy manager of the company's department. Shinsong, it used to be you pulling me forward, but now, you've become the one holding me back. Shinsong, let's get divorced. We're no longer from the same world now, and I don't want my quality of life to be dragged down by a burden like you. Shinsong still vividly remembers how cold Zhang Ying looked at that moment, her eyes filled with nothing but disdain and contempt for him. With Zhang Ying having spoken to such an extent, Shinsong naturally didn't beg to stay. They quickly went through the divorce procedures and divided their assets. His share of the money was used to pay for his parents' surgery fees, leaving him not only penniless but also saddled with significant debt. Additionally, since he was unemployed, the court determined he was unable to properly care for Cece, so custody was awarded to Zhang Ying. Even though Zhang Ying didn't treat Cece well, and Cece actually wanted to live with him instead. But financial issues are the most practical concern. So in the end, he had no choice but to leave Cece in Shanghai under Zhang Ying's care. However, just 2 months later, Zhang Ying remarried. And not long after, Zhang Ying gave birth to another son. Cece was already living an unfree and unhappy life with Zhang Ying, and now things have gone from bad to worse. She wasn't even allowed to make a phone call with him. She would secretly call him every time, always ending up in tears from feeling wronged. Yet even so, when he petitioned the court again for custody of Xixi, he still lost the case, because his elderly parents were in poor health and needed his care. And their hometown was a small fourth-tier city with very few job opportunities to begin with. Not to mention, he's already 29 years old and simply can't compete with those younger guys. It's not that he couldn't find any job at all, but starting from the very bottom with that pitiful salary would be worse than delivering takeout. So Shinsong ultimately chose to don the yellow jacket, braving wind and rain every day. Though it's tough, the income isn't bad. Shinsong hopes to pay off his debts as soon as possible and save up more money to regain custody of Cece. However, in the past 2 years, the overall situation has been getting worse, and even the unit price for food delivery has been dropping repeatedly. Shinsong had no idea how much longer it would take to regain custody of Cece from Zhang Ying. Sigh. With a bitter sigh, Shinsong pulled himself together, plugged his phone into the electric bike, and got ready to deliver the next order. Although he had been sleeping only 4 hours a day for half a month straight, for his daughter and to earn money, he had no choice but to push himself to the limit. What's going on? Just as Shinsong was about to start the car, a blue light screen suddenly appeared before his eyes. This made him freeze for a moment, wondering if he was hallucinating from exhaustion. Then, lines of text unexpectedly began appearing on the blue light screen. Daily Intelligence System binding completed. Host, Shinsong. Based on the host's current wealth, one piece of intelligence can be obtained daily. Today's intelligence. Near the Golden Hair Market, there is a lost ragdoll cat. Its owner is offering a reward of 1,000 yuan for its return. Contact number 157 7811. Shin Song stared at the blue light screen in disbelief. Daily intelligence system? He occasionally listened to audiobooks and was no stranger to this kind of thing. But he never expected that one day, he would actually have a system of his own. Golden Hair Market. Shin Song glanced at his phone screen. The delivery order he was about to fulfill was near the Golden Hair Market. Whether this daily intelligence system was real or not, he would find out after completing this delivery. Shin Song suppressed his excitement and started driving towards the Golden Hair Market. Your takeout order, enjoy your maya. Bang! Before he could finish speaking, the door was slammed shut. Shin Song remained expressionless, long accustomed to such indifference. After going downstairs, it was already raining heavily. Shin Song walked in the rain to the Golden Hair Market, searching for the ragdoll cat mentioned in the intelligence system. But after searching for over 10 minutes, Shin Song still couldn't find any trace of the ragdoll cat. Could he have been deceived? Shin Song was suspicious but didn't give up, instead searching more carefully. Finally, Shin Song spotted a ragdoll cat huddled behind a trash can overflowing with rotten vegetable leaves, shivering from the rain. Really? Shin Song was overjoyed and quickly took out his phone to dial the number provided by the intelligence system. Did you find my baby? Where? At the Golden Hair Market, right? Okay, I'm coming right now. 10 minutes later, a well-dressed woman with meticulous makeup hurried over, holding an umbrella. Sweetheart, thank goodness you're okay. You scared me to death. The woman picked up the ragdoll cat, seemingly on the verge of tears. But she didn't forget about Shin Song either, immediately pulling out her phone. Bro, I really can't thank you enough. I'll transfer the money to you right now. Is WeChat okay? Alright. Shin Song didn't put on a show of refusing. The hardships of life left him no room for pride. After opening the WeChat payment QR code, the next second, 1,000 yuan arrived in his account. Looking at this 1,000 yuan, Shin Song couldn't help but smile. At the current delivery rates, he would have to work from dawn to dusk, rain or shine, delivering takeout for 5 days to earn 1,000 yuan. But now, with the intelligence system, he made that 1,000 yuan in just 20 minutes. Chapter 2, Wealth in the Trash Can. With excitement in his heart, Shin Song continued taking delivery orders. Even though just that short while ago, I've already earned what would have taken me 5 days to make before. But I can't just quit the food delivery job because of this. After all, I still need to save up to bring CC back. And the 130,000 yuan debt needs to be repaid as soon as possible, otherwise, I'll always feel unsettled. 1,000 yuan is just a drop in the bucket when it comes to improving Shin Song's current dire situation. But this 1,000 yuan became the first cog in the wheel of fate, reigniting Shin Song's hope for the future. The rain fell heavier, yet Shin Song's mood was brighter than ever. Riding his bike through the wind and rain, he felt more driven than before. Late at night, Shin Song returned to Udai community. During his high school years, his parents bought this shabby 2-bedroom apartment in a remote part of the city to better take care of him. More than a decade has passed, and this apartment has truly become old, shabby, and small. Without an elevator and with no lights in the hallway, Shin Song had to rely on his phone's flashlight to climb up to the 6th floor. By the age of 30, a person's body inevitably starts to decline. Although Shin Song hadn't yet reached 30, falling ill in Shanghai and then returning to Hannan to work grueling hours delivering food had left his health nearly shattered. Today, I got soaked in the rain again while delivering food all day. By the time I climbed up to the 6th floor, my back was aching and I was out of breath. But Shin Song still wore a smile on his face, especially when he saw the countdown on that blue screen. 45 minutes remaining until the next batch of intel refreshes. Today, with the help of this intelligence system, I easily made $1,000. Tomorrow, can I make another 1,000? For Shin Song now, being able to effortlessly earn $1,000 every day is already something worth celebrating. Click. Shin Song, full of anticipation, took out his key and unlocked the door. The warm yellow light caught his eye. Kamwar is back. You must be hungry. Come and eat quickly. It's raining outside. Let Kamwar take a shower first. Dad and Mom stood up from the shabby sofa, talking as they went to the kitchen to heat up the food for Shin Song. Shin Song's heart was warmed. No matter how late it was, his parents would always leave the light on for him and ensure he had a hot meal to eat. Yet, at the same time, Shin Song was filled with self-reproach. His parents were already in their 60s, not in the best health, and still had to take care of him. He must make sure his parents and Cece live a good life. Shin Song silently swore to himself. At that moment, his parents came over carrying steaming hot dishes. Shin Song quickly stepped forward to take them and said, "Dad, Mom, it's so late already, you should go to bed. Don't worry about us, you go ahead and eat." Mom sat down and suddenly spoke up. "Songer, there's something I need to tell you, which is, your dad and I heard that sanitation workers are hiring, so..." Shin Song's heart trembled, then he put down his chopsticks and said solemnly, "Dad, Mom, there's no room for negotiation on this matter. Dad had a heart bypass surgery, and Mom, your back and legs haven't fully recovered yet, they still hurt from time to time. How can you possibly go sweep the streets from dawn to dusk? Under the lamplight, Mom slightly lowered her head, her graying hair falling down. Kamwa, in order to treat me and your dad, you not only spent all your savings but also ended up 130,000 in debt. Even Cece had to. Your dad and I want to help ease your burden, repay the debt as soon as possible, and bring Cece back home quickly. She's unhappy every day staying with her mother. Shin Sung's heart ached even more, but he forcibly suppressed his emotions and smiled at his mother, saying, Dad, Mom, I'll figure out the money issue. Don't worry, I've been planning to start a small business with friends recently, and we'll make money soon. Both Mom and Dad suddenly looked up. Really? Of course it's true. Shin Sung nodded firmly. After persuading his parents to abandon the idea of becoming sanitation workers, Shin Sung finished his meal, took a shower, and lay in bed with a whirlwind of thoughts. Suddenly, a blue light flashed before his eyes. Daily intel has been refreshed. Today's intel, in the trash bin below Building 13 of Faitsui International Community, there's a book containing a T46 Genshin year monkey stamp inside. The antique market estimates its value at 5,000 yuan. Shin Sung's eyes widened. He knew nothing about monkey stamps, but 5,000 yuan, that figure he saw crystal clear. He delivers takeout, working himself to the bone every day, barely making 5 or 6,000 a month. But now, he has a chance to earn 5,000 in a single day. No, to be precise, it doesn't even take a full day. Just an hour or two, and he can easily make 5,000. Shin Sung's breathing became rapid, itching to rush to the Emerald International Community right now and rummage through the trash bins to find that monkey stamp. However, he eventually calmed down. Emerald International Community was a high-end residential area in Hannan City, with tight security where non-residents found it difficult to enter. If he wanted to get into Emerald International Community, food delivery guys can actually get in. Shin Sung had delivered food there before. As long as you register at the security office, you can enter the residential area. Tomorrow, I'll get up early and take a food delivery order for the Jade International Community. Shin Sung was extremely excited, but the exhaustion from a busy day quickly lulled him to sleep. The next day, Shin Sung woke up before dawn. After successfully picking up a breakfast delivery order to Emerald International Community, Shin Sung excitedly sped off. After delivering the food, Shin Sung rushed into the community's public restroom to change his clothes. Rummaging through trash bins while wearing a delivery uniform would inevitably attract strange looks. If he lost the monkey stamp because of that, it would be a huge loss. After changing clothes, Shin Sung headed straight for the trash bin downstairs of Building 13. But when Shin Sung saw the target trash bin, his heart skipped a beat, because an old lady had already seized the opportunity and was cleaning the trash bin. Suppressing his nervousness, Shin Sung forced his expression to remain calm. At times like these, it's even more important to stay calm. When Shin Sung approached the trash bin, the old lady immediately cast a wary glance at him, as if afraid he would steal her business. Auntie, I'm not here to compete with you. It's just that my daughter's test paper was tucked inside a book. Her teacher requires a parent's signature on it, but I didn't know earlier and threw it away as trash. Shin Sung had already prepared his explanation and said with a cheerful smile. Hearing this, the aunt's expression softened somewhat, and she moved aside to make room for Shin Sung. Shin Sung secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Good thing he had changed clothes beforehand. If he had been wearing his delivery uniform while pretending to be a resident of the community, he would definitely have been exposed. As he thought this, Shin Sung quickly began rummaging through the pile of garbage. The trash bin wasn't particularly dirty, so Shin Sung had no psychological burden while searching through it. Actually, even if the trash can was dirty and smelly, Shin Sung wouldn't mind at all. After all, there was 5,000 yuan hidden inside. Where is it? Shin Sung searched carefully through book after book, but found nothing in the end. Until Shin Sung flipped open a fashion magazine. Chapter 3, Making Money Too Easy. A stamp was affixed to a page featuring a busty beauty. A bright red background featured a cute golden monkey in the center. Monkey stamps. Found them. Shin Sung's heart swelled with joy, yet his expression remained calm as he swiftly closed the magazine. Found it? The auntie glanced at the magazine in Shin Sung's hands, her expression turning peculiar. Yes, I found it. Auntie, please continue. I won't disturb you anymore. Shin Sung knew the woman had misunderstood, but he didn't bother explaining. Smiling, he quickly left. Leaving Emerald International Community, Shin Sung didn't take any more delivery orders. Instead, he opened his navigation app and rode straight to Antique Street. On the way, every time he stopped at a traffic light, Shin Sung would reach into his pocket to check on the stamp, afraid he might accidentally lose it. Fortunately, the journey went smoothly, and half an hour later, Shin Sung arrived at Antique Street. It was his first time here, so he randomly picked an antique shop and walked in. Choi Tongyun, the owner of Jushing, had just brewed a pot of tea when he saw Shin Sung walk in. Having navigated the antique market for decades, Choi Tongyun considered himself to have developed an eagle eye. These keen eyes weren't just sharp for spotting treasures, they were even sharper for reading people. Whether someone was a seasoned expert who knew the antiques market inside out or a clueless novice, Choi Tongyun could tell at a glance. And the moment he laid eyes on Shin Sung, Choi Tongyun was certain this was a greenhorn who knew nothing about the trade. Chui Tongyun loved greenhorns best. They were easy to dupe and the easiest way to make big money. Of course, Chui Tongyun maintained a warm facade, greeting Shin Song with a broad smile plastered across his face. Hey, buddy, I've got nothing but treasures here, take your pick. If you're looking to sell treasures, I'm known as an honest man, I'll give you the highest price guaranteed. Chui Tongyun chuckled as he spoke, offering Shin Song a cup of tea. Mr. Chui, I have a stamp here, would you take a look? Shin Song smiled, trying to appear seasoned. But in Chui Tongyun's eyes, Shin Song's performance was downright amateurish. Chui Tongyun felt a surge of satisfaction as he looked at the stamp Shin Song handed over. If it was a good piece, he could definitely fleece this greenhorn Shin Song today and make a killing. This is... Chui Tongyun's eyes lit up fiercely when he saw the monkey stamp in Shin Song's palm. But his acting was impeccable, he didn't betray a hint of excitement. Instead, he immediately furrowed his brow. Bro, this stuff's not worth much. Chui Tongyun shook his head inside. It's got no real collectible value. He put on an act of disappointment, his face full of dismay. Shin Song couldn't help but snort coldly to himself. He knew nothing about antiques, and it was only natural he'd struggle on his first visit to the antique market. But he had at least made his way in the metropolis. If Chui Tongyun thought he could pull one over on him, he was dreaming. Shin Song smiled without a word, simply slipping the monkey stamp back into his pocket before turning to leave. This left Chui Tongyun utterly dumbfounded. Normally, Shin Song should have argued back, questioned him, and then Chui could have used his expertise to confuse Shin Song completely. But why wasn't Shin Song playing by the rules? Why was he leaving without a word? Had he misjudged the situation? Was Shin Song not an amateur after all? Hey! Hold on a second, buddy. Chui Tongyun hurriedly grabbed Shin Song's arm. This monkey stamp might not be perfect, but it was still quite valuable. Business was tough these days, how could Chui Tongyun let Shin Song, this rare find, slip away? Bro, I'm really sorry. Chui Tongyun wasn't one to shy away from awkwardness. He admitted he'd mistakenly thought Shin Song knew nothing about stamps and had tried to snatch a bargain. With a sincere expression, he apologized to Shin Song before continuing. How about this, brother? This monkey stamp is only worth about 1500 yuan. I'll take it for 2000. The extra 500 is my way of making it up to you. What do you say? Chui Tongyun's acting was masterful, and his earlier candor made it easy to win trust. A younger person would likely have bought his story 80% of the time. Unfortunately for him, Chui Tongyun had run into Shin Song. And Shin Song was Shin Song with a system cheat enabled. Even though Shin Song knew nothing about antiques, his intelligence system made it crystal clear, this monkey stamp could fetch 5,000 yuan on the antique market. Shin Song wasn't about to be fooled by Chui Tongyun. So Shin Song calmly held out one hand and said with a faint smile. One price, 5,000. Chui Tongyun froze for a moment before offering a wry smile. Bro, don't joke around with me. Your stamp is nice, but it's really only worth 1,500. Let me be honest with you, bro. The market's tough right now, the antique scene's taken a hit, and this monkey stamp has flaws, just look at it yourself. Chui Tongyun pointed out the flaw on the stamp in Shin Song's palm as he spoke. How about this, brother? I'm a stamp collector myself, and I really like this monkey stamp. I'd like to buy it for my collection. I'll give you 2,500. What do you think? This is the absolute highest price. No matter which antique shop you go to, you won't find anyone offering more than I'm offering. Chui Tongyun spoke with such sincerity, his acting truly unmatched. He couldn't believe he wouldn't be able to sweet-talk Shin Song like this. But no sooner had he finished speaking than Shin Song turned and headed for the door again. Chui Tongyun's mouth twitched. Could it be? Was Shin Song not just knowledgeable, but a true expert? Hey, buddy. Seeing Shin Song had already left the Jujing Pavilion and was heading toward another antique shop, Chui Tongyun finally lost his patience. Gritting his teeth, he rushed out and pulled Shin Song back into the Jujing Pavilion. 5,000. Fine, 5,000. I'll take your monkey stamps. Only then did Shin Song nod in satisfaction. Mr. Chui, you're generous. Chui Tongyun's face flushed with embarrassment. Just moments ago, he'd been convinced his keen eye could easily outmaneuver a greenhorn like Shin Song. But never in his wildest dreams did he expect. So quickly, he'd been taught a lesson by Shin Song, this very same greenhorn. You're a man of few words, brother. I truly underestimated you this time. This time, Chui Tongyun wasn't putting on an act. He sincerely apologized to Shin Song, then promptly signed the contract and transferred 5,000 yuan to Shin Song. Mr. Chui, may your business thrive. Next time I find something worthwhile, I'll come back to you. Stepping out of Jijing Pavilion, Shin Song felt a surge of delight as he checked his phone and saw the notification for the 5,000 yuan deposit. For the first time, he realized how simple making money could be. Even during his most ambitious days in the metropolis, he'd never earned this much money so effortlessly. Life on cheat mode is pure bliss. Shin Song couldn't help but marvel. But soon, Shin Song regained his composure and prepared to take on more delivery orders. After all, one mustn't forget one's roots, right? Delivering food could still net him another 100 or two today. Only when the debt is paid off could he truly relax a little. No sooner had Shin Song found a spot to change into his delivery uniform than his phone rang. Caller ID, Old Ma. This was Shin Song's good buddy and one of his creditors. Shin Song still owed him 50,000 yuan. Chapter 4, Valuable Information. Hello, Old Ma. Shin Song answered the call. He had assumed Old Ma was calling to demand repayment. But Old Ma didn't mention it at all. Moreover, when Shin Song offered to repay the money, Old Ma told him to keep it. Old Shin, your aunt and uncle aren't in the best of health. Buy them some extra supplements. You don't need to rush to pay me back. I'm calling today to remind you that your sister-in-law's birthday is tomorrow. If you're free, come over for dinner. It's been ages since we all had a drink together. Old Ma chuckled cheerfully on the other end of the line. After hanging up, Shin Song checked his WeChat balance. 7,982.34. After a moment's thought, Shin Song transferred 7,000 yuan to Old Ma. Old Ma was the type to speak his mind. He never beat around the bush. If Old Ma told him not to rush the repayment, that meant he genuinely felt that way. But Shin Song couldn't just not pay Old Ma back. He knew Old Ma had been struggling lately. Old Ma ran an orchard back in his rural hometown, and it usually brought in decent profits each year. This year, the orchard had produced an especially bountiful harvest, and Old Ma had expected to make a substantial profit. Unexpectedly, the long-term buyer claimed market conditions were poor and tried to drastically cut the price, offering to purchase Old Ma's fruit at rock-bottom rates. Naturally, Old Ma refused. He contacted several other buyers, but all offered rock-bottom prices that left him no profit margin. If he accepted the offered price, Old Ma would earn almost nothing, effectively working for nothing all year. But if he refused, the fruit would go unsold and rot in the fields, leading to even greater losses. With his wife pregnant and nearing delivery, these past few days had left Old Ma utterly distraught. Shin Song couldn't help Old Ma either, so he could only repay part of the money to him first. Taking a deep breath, Shin Song composed himself and began taking delivery orders. If nothing else, he needed to repay Old Ma as soon as possible. It would give Old Ma some breathing room and lighten his own debt burden. Noon. Shin Song was crouched by the roadside eating his boxed lunch when his phone suddenly buzzed. He opened it to find Old Ma had refunded his 7,000 yuan. Old Ma even sent several voice messages in a row. Shin Song, I told you there's no rush to pay me back. Back then, I didn't even have enough for my wedding banquet. If you hadn't lent me the money, my wife and I would have been the laughingstock of the village forever. And when I needed money to start my orchard, you were the one who lent it to me. Shin Song, I'll remember your kindness for the rest of my life. You don't even have to pay back this 50,000 yuan. Shin Song couldn't help but sigh after hearing this. It was true he'd helped Old Ma before. But when his parents needed surgery, Old Ma himself was short on cash for a business loan. Yet Old Ma still dug deep and gave him 50,000 yuan to cover the final gap in the medical bills. Old Ma's wife even came to the hospital to take shifts with him, helping care for his parents. Now, Old Ma could say something like this. How could Shin Song not be moved? Thanks. Shin Song didn't transfer the 7,000 yuan to Lao Ma. Instead, he planned to withdraw cash from the bank later and quietly hand it to Lao Ma's wife when he visited their home tomorrow. Putting away his phone, Shin Song hopped on his bike and continued weaving through the city streets. When he got home that evening, his parents learned he was still delivering food. They brought up the old topic again, insisting on becoming sanitation workers to ease his burden. Dad, Mom, didn't I tell you? I'm running my own business. I'm making way more money. Shin Song pulled out his phone and showed them the payment notifications from the past 2 days. His parents leaned in to look. Yesterday, 1,000 yuan? Today, 5,000. Mom and Dad's eyes widened instantly. Song, you. Mom and Dad were so stunned they couldn't speak. They'd never seen daily earnings of 1,000, let alone 5,000. Mom, Dad, I'm just delivering food to pass the time now. It's nothing like the hard work I used to do. So please stop worrying about money. Shin Song smiled reassuringly at his parents. Well, that's good. Mom and Dad burst into excited laughter, their wrinkled faces beaming with pride for Shin Song. Whether Shin Song was a department manager in the metropolis or delivering food for a certain group back home, he was always their pride. Now, earning 5,000 yuan a day made them even more immensely proud. Seeing his parents' happy smiles, Shin Song couldn't help but smile too. Back in his room, Shin Song waited for today's intelligence update. Yesterday, he'd hoped to earn another 1,000 yuan, but ended up making 5,000. Today, could he make another 5,000? Or maybe just a little more than 5,000? Time ticked away, second by second, until the countdown finally hit 0. Daily intelligence has been refreshed. Today's intelligence, raw material inventory at Liju Beverage Factory is critically low. The owner is seeking solutions to address the shortage. Shin Song couldn't help but freeze. Today's intelligence was different from the past 2 days. It no longer offered him a chance to pick up money directly. It seemed like it wouldn't be of much help to him. Because I got greedy just now, wanting to earn more than 5,000? Shin Song frowned slightly. Suddenly, a flash of insight struck him. At first glance, this piece of intelligence seemed useless. But in reality, it held hidden business opportunities. By helping the owner of Liju Beverage Factory solve their raw material problem, he could profit from it. If things went smoothly, the money he could make this time would far exceed 5,000 yuan. And for Shinsong, solving the raw material problem for the Bangla juice factory owner wasn't just easy, it was a piece of cake. Old Ma is struggling to sell his fruit, and Liju Beverage Factory is short on ingredients. What a perfect match. Shinsong sat up excitedly in bed. Today's intelligence was merely raw information. Information itself holds little value. But in the right hands, it becomes incredibly valuable. The next morning, Shinsong rose early. Instead of donning his delivery uniform, he pulled a suit from the bottom of his wardrobe. This suit carried the weight of his former glory days. But Shinsong had no time for nostalgia. He quickly slipped into the suit, gave his face a thorough wash, shaved, then dashed downstairs to the supermarket to grab a bottle of hair gel, spraying it on casually. Shinsong's demeanor transformed instantly. In a daze, Shinsong became the Mr. Shin of the Magic City once more. What are you daydreaming about? Making money is what matters. Shinsong dismissed his sentimental thoughts and hailed a cab to the Liju Beverage Factory. Sir, may I ask who you are? The security guard at the beverage factory, seeing Shinsong dressed in a sharp suit and exuding an air of distinction, greeted him with great enthusiasm. This was precisely why Shinsong had gone to such lengths to dress up today. First respect the clothes, then respect the person. That's how it is everywhere. I'm here to see your boss. I have business to discuss with him. Shinsong didn't reveal his identity, maintaining an air of authority. The more imposing he appeared, the more intimidating he became, and the smoother things would go. Sure enough, seeing Shinsong's imposing demeanor, the security guard became even more convinced that he was a big boss himself. They dared not show the slightest disrespect, promptly ushering him into the waiting room with deference before sending someone to notify the boss. Chapter 5, The Deal Sealed. Shinsong faced no trouble from the security guard and received no disrespect from the owner of Liju Beverage Factory. Within 2 minutes, a haggard-looking middle-aged man entered the waiting room. I'm Su Duqian, owner of Liju Beverage Factory. And you are? Though Su Duqian didn't recognize Shinsong, he showed no sign of condescension. Instead, he extended his hand warmly. Su Duqian? What a straightforward name. Shinsong thought to himself as he shook Su Duqian's hand and said, Mr. Su, hello. My name is Shin Kong. I heard your factory is facing a raw material shortage recently? Su Duqian was taken aback by the question. Recently, the factory had hired a group of relatives, leading to inaccurate raw material demand forecasts and significant errors in inventory counts. But those relatives had kept it hidden, so he only found out about it last night. He hadn't yet figured out a solution, so he was reaching out for help everywhere. Thus, Shinsong's knowledge of the raw material shortage didn't surprise Su Duoyen. What truly astonished Su Duqian was that he had only sought help last night, yet Shinsong had arrived this very morning. Could Shinsong have found a solution so quickly? Mr. Shin, do you have access to raw materials? Mu Xianshan didn't beat around the bush, getting straight to the point. Seeing this, Shinsong felt a surge of delight. Since Su Duqian was such a straightforward man, this would make things much easier. To be honest, Mr. Shin, I do have a batch of exceptionally high-quality oranges. Originally, this batch was destined for out-of-town markets, but since your beverage factory is a local enterprise in Hanan City, I'm all for supporting hometown development. Shinsong, adhering to his half-truth, half-joke style of speaking, said with a smile. Su Duqian's face lit up with delight as he hurriedly asked, Mr. Shin, where are the oranges? May I take a look? Shinsong nodded. If you're in a hurry, Mr. Su, I can bring a sample batch this afternoon. But Mr. Su, while I can guarantee the orange's quality, as for the price. Su Duqian paused for a few seconds, then said earnestly, Mr. Shin, the oranges I've been purchasing previously were priced at 1 yuan 50 per gene. Since you're willing to help me out in this urgent situation, I'm prepared to pay you 1.6 yuan per gene. On his way over, Shinsong had already researched the orange purchase price at Liju Beverage Factory. It was indeed 1.6 yuan per gene. But playing these games in business was perfectly normal. After all, he hadn't been entirely truthful with Su Duqian either. And most importantly, he had called Old Ma to inquire. The wholesaler offered Lao Ma 80 cents per gene. At that price, Old Ma had absolutely no profit margin. But with Su Duqian's offer of 1 yuan 60 per gene, both he and Old Ma stand to profit. Shinsong was actually satisfied with the price offered by Ma Qian. But when it came to money, naturally, the more profit the better. So instead of showing satisfaction, Shinsong furrowed his brow. Through Shinsong's masterful negotiation, the price was ultimately raised to 1.8 yuan per gene. Su Duqian's Liju Beverage Factory wasn't very large. Now they needed to purchase 50 tons, or 100,000 gene, of oranges. Shinsong had raised the price from 1.6 yuan to 1.8 yuan per gene. While it seemed like only a 20-cent increase, it actually meant an extra 20,000 yuan. In just a few moments, merely by moving his lips, he had secured an extra 20,000 yuan. How could Shin Song not be satisfied? After leaving the Liju beverage factory, Shin Song took a car back to Heiju village. Shin Song's here. Why did you buy so much again? Old Ma's wife spotted Shin Song and warmly ushered him inside. I bought some milk for uncle and auntie, and a set of cosmetics for you, sister-in-law. Nothing expensive, hope you don't mind. Shin Song set the items down. Oh dear, what's this? Old Ma emerged from the kitchen just then, glaring at Shin Song disapprovingly, thinking he'd spent too much. But Shin Song didn't give Old Ma a chance to speak. She pushed him into the kitchen, helping him prepare while bringing up the matter of the oranges. Shin Song, can you really help me sell the oranges? Old Ma eyed Shin Song suspiciously. It wasn't that he didn't trust his good buddy Shin Song. It was simply that Shin Song had never been involved in this kind of business before. He'd never heard Shin Song mention having connections in this field before. Just trust me, Shin Song said with a smile. Well, alright then. Old Ma didn't press further. If he couldn't even trust Shin Song, then in this world, he wouldn't have a single friend worthy of his trust. Suddenly, Old Ma's wife rushed into the kitchen. Old Ma, the buyer's here again. Should you go see him? Old Ma's expression darkened at the news. That bastard shows no mercy. How dare he show up today? You should still go see him. We can't just let all the oranges rot in the orchard, can we? Old Ma's wife urged. Old Ma snorted coldly. No way. I'm not stuck selling oranges only to them. Old Ma's wife looked surprised. If you won't sell to them, then who will you sell to? Old Ma chuckled. Shin Song. He said not only can he sell our oranges, but he'll get us a great price too. Well. Old Ma's wife glanced at Shin Song, gave an awkward smile, then pulled Old Ma aside outside the kitchen and whispered. Shin Song did pretty well for himself back in the Magic City, he's got real connections. But as the saying goes, different trades are like different mountains. How much does Shin Song really know about the fruit business? Old Ma scratched his head. He'd been thinking the same thing just moments ago. But he trusted Shin Song implicitly, so he hadn't pressed the issue. Now, he really didn't know how to respond to his wife. Old Ma. Just then, the fruit buyer Peng Jingwen approached with a cheerful smile. Old Ma's expression immediately turned cold at the sight of Peng Jingwen. Peng Jingwen remained unfazed, still smiling warmly as he offered Old Ma a cigarette. Old Ma, I know you've got a bone to pick with me, but I've got my hands tied too. The market's in a rough patch right now. The fruit industry's taking a big hit, I just can't afford to pay top dollar. If I paid you a high price, I'd lose my shirt. You've got to understand my situation. Old Ma pushed Peng Jingwen's cigarette away and snapped coldly. Old Peng, we're both old foxes. What bull are you feeding me? Even if you bought my oranges for $1, you'd still make a profit. Yet you're only offering me 80 cents. Aren't you trying to drive me out of business? The smile finally vanished from Peng Jingwen's face. He lit a cigarette and said, Old Ma, you're not the only one selling oranges. If you won't sell, plenty of others will. If it weren't for our years of partnership, I wouldn't bother dealing with you. Peng Jingwen blew out a smoke ring and said coldly. Let me tell you straight, Old Ma. If you don't sell them to me at 80 cents a pound, your oranges won't sell at all. They'll just rot in the field. Then forget about making money, you'll lose your shirt. Peng Jingwen spoke with a smug look on his face. But then, a voice cut through the air. Is that so? You dare say that? Aren't you afraid the wind might twist your tongue? Chapter 6, Old Ma's Shock. Shin Song approached Old Ma, glaring coldly at Peng Jingwen. Who's this guy? Peng Jingwen had just been rebuked by Shin Song, and he was feeling a bit irritated. But since he didn't know Shin Song's background, he dared not speak harshly. I'm also a fruit buyer. I came here today specifically to purchase oranges from Old Ma. Shin Song said indifferently. Hearing this, Peng Jingwen couldn't help but relax. Judging by Shin Song's earlier tone, he'd assumed Shin Song was some big shot. Turns out he's just a small-time buyer? A hint of disdain flashed in Peng Jingwen's eyes as he looked at Shin Song. He knew nearly every major buyer in Hannan City capable of handling Lao Ma's entire orange shipment. But he'd never seen Shin Song before, which meant Shin Song couldn't be that powerful. Peng Jingwen shot Shin Song a cold, dismissive glance. I'm quite curious, brother, what price did you offer Old Ma? Shin Song first made a 1 gesture with his fingers, then followed it with an 8. Peng Jingwen assumed Shin Song meant 8 jiao per jean. He turned to Old Ma and chuckled. Old Ma, this guy's no good either, he's offering the same price as me. Old Ma, selling to him is definitely not as good as selling to me. After all, we've been partners for years, we know each other inside out. Most importantly, I can take all your oranges, but this guy. Peng Jingwen shot Shin Song a contemptuous sideways glance. If he takes half your oranges, you should count yourself lucky. Shin Song couldn't help but snort derisively. Brother Peng, my offer isn't 80 cents per pound, it's $1.81 per pound. For a moment, silence fell. Peng Jingwen, Old Ma's wife, were all frozen in shock.
Old Ma, having seen Shin Song's gesture earlier, had also assumed he meant 80 cents per jean. Even though that would mean Shin Song and Peng Jingwen were offering the same price, he was still willing to sell to Shin Song. He'd consider it supporting Shin Song's business venture. But he never imagined Shin Song's gesture meant 1 yuan 80 per jean. Old Ma had been growing fruit for several years. Even at the market's peak, prices had only reached 1.3 yuan per jean.
Shin Song was offering 1 yuan 80? Old Ma and his wife exchanged bewildered glances, wondering if they'd misheard.
Brother, that's a bit of an exaggeration.
Peng Jingwen snapped back to reality, convinced Shin Song was just bragging.
If Shin Song dared to buy at 1.8 yuan, he'd definitely lose his shirt.
I'm not joking. Shin Song's expression remained calm.
It's you, Brother Peng, who's being ridiculous.
How can you even say 80 cents per pound? Peng Jingwen's expression darkened as he coldly retorted. Fine. You're quite the tough guy. I just hope you'll be this defiant when you're footing the bill. With that, Peng Jingwen turned and walked away. Old Peng, leaving already? Why not stay for a meal before you go? Old Ma watched Peng Jingwen's departure, feeling utterly delighted inside.
Peng Jingwen snorted coldly, glancing at Shin Song and Old Ma. I won't be staying for dinner today, but I'll be back in a few days.
Hope you're still smiling then. Watching Peng Jingwen's figure disappear, Lao Ma felt an immense sense of satisfaction. Shin Song, we owe you big time today. Otherwise, that bastard would have had me bottling up my frustration until I exploded. Old Ma's wife nodded in agreement.
Regardless of whether Shin Song's quoted price was genuine or not, at least he'd help them vent the pent-up frustration they'd been harboring.
Shin Song, come sit down. Dinner's almost ready. Yeah, Shin Song, sit down. I'll pour you some wine. Old Ma and his wife grew increasingly warm toward Shin Song.
At the dinner table, after 3 rounds of wine and 5 courses of food,
Old Ma's wife finally couldn't hold back and asked. Shin Song, are you really going to buy all our oranges?
What's the purchase price exactly?
Old Ma shot his wife a glare. We haven't even finished eating yet. Why bring this up now? It's nothing.
Shin Song smiled at Old Ma's wife and said.
Sis, I'll definitely buy every single orange from your family. As for the price.
Sister-in-law, I just said 18 yuan per pound, so it's 18 yuan per pound.
But
Shin Song never intended to profit by undercutting Old Ma's price, which is why he'd quoted 1.80 per jean outright. But as the saying goes, even close relatives should keep accounts clear.
He couldn't possibly work for free and earn nothing. So Shin Song made his intentions clear. Old Ma, sister-in-law, I'm buying your oranges to sell to a juice factory. Believe it or not, that's the exact price the factory quoted me.
At that point, Shin Song stopped speaking. Though Old Ma had been drinking, his mind was still sharp, and he immediately understood Shin Song's meaning. If Shin Song wasn't cutting out the middleman to pocket the difference, how much profit he'd make depended entirely on Old Ma's conscience.
Shin Song, once this deal goes through, let's split the profits 30-70. I take 30%, you take 70%. What do you say? Old Ma offered without hesitation. Old Ma's wife quickly agreed as well.
Without Shin Song, their oranges would either be sold cheaply to Peng Jingwen or left to rot in the fields. Selling to Peng Jingwen meant no profit at all, while rotting in the fields would cost them money.
But splitting the profits 30-70 with Shin Song guaranteed them a profit. Though the math showed Shin Song would earn more than them, they didn't see any problem with it.
Shin Song had the connections to the juice factory and the skill to get them to pay 1.8 yuan per kilogram.
If Shin Song had that skill, then Shin Song should profit.
They were perfectly content to pocket a small profit off his back.
Old Ma.
Shin Song had originally planned to split the profits 50-50 with Old Ma. But Old Ma immediately proposed a 30-70 split.
It's 30-70. No more discussion. Upon learning Shin Song's thoughts, Old Ma refused without hesitation. Here, Shin Song, drink up. This one's on me. I'll toast you too.
Old Ma's wife, being pregnant, couldn't drink alcohol, but she still picked up her juice, stood up, and raised it to Shin Song in a gesture of respect and gratitude.
After the meal,
Old Ma loaded 2 large boxes of oranges into the car and rode with Shin Song to the Liju beverage factory.
Mr. Shen, Mr. Ma. Su Duo had been waiting at the entrance since early morning.
Spotting Shin Song and Old Ma, he immediately approached them warmly.
Mr. Su, here are the samples. Would you like to take a look? Shin Song and Old Ma unloaded the oranges from the car together. Su Duqian stepped forward and examined them carefully.
Soon, Su Duqian broke into a smile and reached out to grasp Shin Song's hand.
Mr. Shen, the samples are perfect. If the entire shipment maintains this quality, we can sign the contract immediately. As for the price, it's 1 yuan 80 per pound. Is that okay? Shin Song nodded with a smile. Of course it's fine, but
Mr. Su, I have another business matter I'd like to discuss with you. Chapter 7, When luck comes, it can't be stopped.
Mr. Shen, please go ahead. Su Duqian held an exceptionally favorable impression of Shin Song.
Last night his factory faced a raw material shortage, and by this morning Shin Song had already offered a solution. By afternoon, sample materials had been delivered. Barring any unforeseen issues, the shortage would be resolved tomorrow, lifting him out of his predicament. From Su Duqian's perspective, Shin Song was a resourceful, capable individual who got things done efficiently. Naturally, Su Duqian was eager to build a stronger relationship with such a person. Mr. Su, besides oranges, I also have other seasonal fruits available. Your juice factory doesn't just make orange juice, right? So I was thinking, could we establish a long-term partnership? Shin Song got straight to the point. I can absolutely guarantee both the quantity and quality of the fruit. As for the price, we can certainly discuss it. Su Chang's eyes lit up. If they could establish a stable, local supply chain for raw materials, the likelihood of future shortages would decrease significantly. Absolutely. We'd be delighted. Mu Xianqian seized Shin Song's hand and exclaimed excitedly. Mr. Shin, let's head to the office for some tea and discuss this properly? It would be my pleasure. In the office, Shin Song and Su Duoyi conversed warmly. Though there were several overt and covert exchanges regarding pricing, they didn't hinder the progress. Ultimately, Su Duoyan made concessions, and the long-term cooperation plan was happily finalized. Old Ma had never witnessed such a scene before. Watching from the sidelines, his heart surged with excitement. Stepping out of the beverage factory, Old Ma immediately gave Shin Song a thumbs up. Way to go, bro. Shin Song rolled his eyes at Lao Ma with a smile. Just a little smooth talking. But Old Ma shook his head vigorously, saying earnestly, that's a skill in itself. If I had your talent, I wouldn't have ended up being treated like a lackey by that bastard Peng Jingwen. Shin Song patted Lao Ma on the shoulder. With the long-term partnership with Haliju Beverage Factory, you've secured a stable sales channel and are making more than before. You won't be bullied by Peng Jingwen's gang anymore. Old Ma grinned from ear to ear. Shin Song, having a brother like you in this life. What was that phrase you used earlier? An absolute honor. Shin Song couldn't help but laugh and cry at the same time. Before parting, Shin Song reminded Old Ma to have the workers harvest and pack all 50 tons of oranges tonight. They'd be delivered to the beverage factory first thing tomorrow morning. Once Su Manyan inspected them and gave the green light, they could sign the contract and collect payment. Leave it to me. Old Ma patted his chest in assurance. By the time he got home, night had fallen. Shin Song didn't go out to deliver takeout again. Instead, he bought a chicken and 2 pounds of spare ribs to cook a hearty dinner for his parents. Song, eat more. At the dinner table, his parents kept serving him more food. The couple was overjoyed, as it had been ages since the three of them had shared a proper meal together. Shin Song felt deeply guilty. He had spent far too little time with his parents over the years. Fortunately, the gears of fate had begun to turn, and his life was about to undergo a major transformation. Things would get better from now on. Late at night, all was quiet. Shin Song lay in bed, awaiting new intelligence. Daily intelligence updated. Today's intelligence: a single joyful reunion scratch-off ticket at the lottery shop downstairs can win an 8,000 yuan prize. Shin Song's eyes lit up instantly. But the lottery shop was already closed now. He'd have to get up early tomorrow to scratch that joyful reunion ticket. He couldn't let anyone else beat him to it. Shin Song drifted off to sleep with a satisfied smile. Before dawn the next day, Shin Song headed straight for the lottery shop downstairs. After waiting half an hour at the door, the lottery shop owner finally arrived to open up. Brother Shin, what brings you here to buy a lottery ticket today? The shop owner, Xiao Weiwei, was 24 years old. Though not tall, she had delicate features and an overall sweet, adorable demeanor. After working in a major metropolis for 2 years, she couldn't handle the immense pressure of city life and returned to Hanan to open this lottery shop. The earnings weren't substantial, but in Hanan, a small fourth-tier city, it was considered decent. Shin Song knew Xiao Weiwei because he lived nearby and often delivered takeout to her shop. As for patronizing Xiao Weiwei's lottery business, today was actually his first time. It couldn't be helped. While a lottery ticket or scratch-off card wasn't particularly expensive, but buying them every day or even every few days would add up to a significant amount over the course of a year. Shin Song had never pinned his hopes of making money on such ephemeral things before. With so many people buying lottery tickets every day, how many actually won and made money? And back in the Magic City, during those 2 most comfortable years of his life, Shin Song did have a habit of buying scratch-offs, but he never won more than 100 yuan. The worst time, he bought 300 individual tickets and didn't win a single yuan. Shin Song often joked that he was just an old unlucky bastard. If not for the intelligence system, he'd never have bought a lottery ticket. I dreamt of winning the jackpot last night, so I came to try my luck today. Shin Song blurted out casually. Xiao Weiwei didn't doubt him. Plenty of people bought lottery tickets after dreaming of winning. Alright, then here's to Brother Shin hitting the jackpot. Xiao Weiwei flashed a sweet smile, her legs encased in black stockings clicking against the floor in high heels. As she powered up the computer, she asked, which lottery did Brother Shin buy? Shin Song walked straight to the scratch-off section, answering Xiao Weiwei with his actions. This didn't surprise Xiao Weiwei. Those who don't specialize in lotteries usually go for scratch-offs. Shin Song glanced over. There were many varieties of scratch-offs. Fortunately, the intelligence system was quite helpful. It not only listed the categories but also marked the individual tickets. This saved Shin Song a lot of money and time. The loose tickets were all 50 yuan denominations. Brother Shin, why not try something else? Xiao Weiwei hesitated when she saw Shin Song preparing to buy the Zixiangfeng tickets, but still offered a reminder. In a scratch-off book, once the big prize is won, the rest usually have no prizes left. This book of Zixiangfeng had a 500 yuan jackpot won yesterday. The rest probably won't have any prizes left. Xiao Weiwei knew Shin Song was struggling financially. Plus, Shin Song had delivered takeout to her before, helping her avoid some unscrupulous food vendors. She thought Shin Song was a genuinely good person, which is why she offered the friendly warning. Thanks, Weiwei. But I dreamt about Zixiangfeng last night, so... Shin Song said, picking out the Zixiangfeng cards to count them. There were 10 Zixiangfeng cards in total, worth 500 yuan altogether. Shin Song scanned the QR code to pay, then sat down and started scratching. Xiao Weiwei shook her head with a wry smile. She had warned Shin Song her conscience was clear. When Shin Song's 500 yuan went down the drain, she wouldn't be to blame. Xiao Weiwei thought to herself, her gaze still fixed on Shin Song as he scratched away. First ticket, no prize. Second scratch off, no prize. Third ticket, 50 yuan prize. Fourth ticket, no prize. Ninth ticket, no prize. 9 tickets, cost 450, winnings 50. The last one probably won't win either, so that's a net loss of 450. Brother Shin, you worked your butt off delivering food for 2 days and only made 450, right? Why bother, Brother Shin? Why not just take my advice? Xiao Weiwei sighed inwardly. She desperately wanted to tell Shin Song. Ignoring good advice only brings immediate regret. Chapter 8, The Money Arrives. A scratch-off ticket costing 450 yuan only 150 yuan. Without the intelligence system, Shin Song would have been sweating buckets. But thanks to the intelligence system, Shin Song remained completely unfazed. Bro, your luck's been off lately. Just then, another middle-aged man walked into the lottery shop. Glancing at the 9 scratch-off tickets spread out on Shin Song's table, he couldn't resist teasing him. Yeah, exactly. Now it all comes down to this last one. Let's see if it can turn things around. Shin Song didn't get annoyed. He responded with a smile as he scratched off the last joyful reunion ticket. The middle-aged man didn't pay Shin Song any further attention, instead turning his gaze to Xiao Weiwei. Hey, beautiful, place a bet for me. Xiao Weiwei also withdrew her gaze from Shin Song. However, just as Xiao Weiwei was operating the computer to buy the lottery ticket for the middle-aged man, Shin Song suddenly shot to his feet and shouted. I won! I won! Shin Song had weathered his share of storms. Winning 8,000 yuan wasn't enough to make him lose his composure. But for any normal person, winning 50 yuan on 9 consecutive scratch-offs only to hit 8,000 on the last one, it was impossible not to be thrilled. To avoid arousing suspicion, Shin Song naturally had to put on a show. And, though Shin Song had known all along that this final scratch-off ticket was bound to be the big winner, when he actually scratched off the 8,000 yuan prize, he couldn't help but feel thrilled. After all, he couldn't even earn 8,000 yuan by delivering takeout for an entire month. Ha! Xiao Weiwei and the middle-aged man both turned to look at Shin Song in surprise. Shin Song promptly waved the scratch-off ticket in his hand. Weiwei, 8,000. Look, did I really win 8,000? Xiao Weiwei took the scratch card and instantly looked stunned. It really is 8,000. Xiao Weiwei stared at Shin Song in disbelief, at a loss for words. She had just been thinking that Shin Song had suffered a big loss by ignoring her advice, but unexpectedly, Shin Song had just won the 8,000 grand prize. Brother Shin, it's a good thing you didn't listen to me. Otherwise, you would have lost big time. Xiao Weiwei laughed awkwardly. She'd meant well earlier, but her good intentions had nearly backfired. Ah, I just got lucky. Shin Song waved it off with a laugh. You're amazing, bro. The middle-aged man who had earlier teased Shin Song about his bad luck now approached him again, his eyes brimming with envy. I've been buying lottery tickets for over 2 years now, spending thousands in total. But the biggest prize I've ever won was just 200 yuan. All that spending and winning back only a fraction means I'm still thousands in the red. Bro, this one scratch-off ticket of yours is worth several times more than all my winnings over these 2 years combined. The more the man spoke, the more intense the envy on his face became. Shin Song patted the man on the shoulder and laughed. Bro, I'll share my luck with you. Your ticket today is bound to hit the jackpot. The middle-aged man instantly smiled, pulled out a pack of Yuan cigarettes from his pocket, and offered Shin Song one. Thanks for the good luck, bro. If I win, I'll make sure to thank you properly. Shin Song chuckled, not taking it to heart. By then, Xiao Weiwei had already prepared the money. Brother Shin, count it out. Shin Song didn't hesitate and began counting immediately. Since the amount was under 10,000 yuan, he could claim the prize right at the lottery shop without any tax deductions. Thus, Shin Song received the full 8,050 yuan. No problem.
Shin Song tucked the money into his bag. Thanks, Wei Wei. Not at all. I should be thanking you, brother Shin. Xiao Wei Wei smiled sweetly. Shin Song bought 500 yuan worth of scratch-off tickets all from her earnings. And when Shin Song won the 8,000 yuan jackpot, she could use it for promotion. Though not as spectacular as a $1 million jackpot, it was more likely to spark the idea that I could win too. She could already foresee that business at her lottery shop would be significantly better than before for the foreseeable future. After leaving the lottery shop, Shin Song took a car to the Liju beverage factory. Half an hour later, Old Ma arrived with several workers. Mr. Su, please inspect them first. Shin Song, the workers brought by Old Ma, and the beverage factory staff worked together to unload the oranges from the truck. After sampling the goods, Su smiled and said, "All clear, Mr. Shin, Mr. Ma. We can sign the contract right now." In the office, Shin Song and Old Ma reviewed the contract together. Satisfied it was in order, they promptly signed and affixed their thumbprints. "Mr. Shin, I'll have the finance department transfer the funds to you immediately." Su Duqian worked with remarkable efficiency. He held Mr. Shin in high regard and sought to build a relationship with him, so he instructed his staff to expedite all procedures to the utmost. By the time Shin Song and Old Ma stepped out of the beverage factory, the funds had already arrived in Shin Song's bank account. Lama, that's 100,000 jin of oranges at 1.8 yuan per jin, 180,000 yuan total. Your cost for growing the oranges was 80,000 yuan, and labor for picking and transporting them was 10,000 yuan. That leaves a profit of 90,000 yuan. We'll split it 60-40. I'll take 54,000. When it came to money, Shin Song had to keep meticulous accounts. Lao Ma frowned, his expression solemn as he said, "Shin Song, we agreed earlier on a 70-30 split. You take 70%, I take 30%. Also, the labor for picking and transporting is 2,000 yuan, not 10,000. Old Ma stared at Shin Song and said earnestly, "Brother, I appreciate your kindness. I may not have much education, but I know the value of information. This money is yours to keep, no arguments. Even if we take a step back, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't have made a single penny. Now that you're helping me make 20 or 30,000, I'm already incredibly grateful. If you insist on splitting it 60-40, I'd be mortified." Seeing Old Ma put it that way, Shin Song could only drop the insistence. In the end, Shin Song transferred 109,400 yuan to Old Ma, leaving 70,600 yuan in his bank account. Shin Song promptly transferred another 60,000 to Old Ma. But soon after, Old Ma transferred 10,000 back to Shin Song. "Old Shin, I told you when I lent you the money I won't take a single penny in interest. You only owe me 50,000 now, so I'll only take 50,000. Not a penny more." Shin Song was both amused and exasperated. Old Ma was just that kind of person, a man of his word, upright and principled. "If you won't take interest, then let me treat you to a meal and a few drinks. Surely that's not a problem?" Shin Song asked with a smile. "Deal. Since you're treating, I'll make sure to give you a run for your money." Old Ma joked. "No problem." Shin Song nodded with a smile. On the way back to the city, Old Ma called his wife to tell her the money was secured. His wife was overjoyed and immediately asked him to hand the phone to Shin Song, saying, "Shin Song, thank you so much. To be honest, when Old Ma first said you could help our family sell fruit, I didn't believe it. I thought different fields were worlds apart and assumed he was bragging. I never imagined. Shin Song, I owe you an apology. I'm young and inexperienced, please don't take it personally." Shin Song waved his hand with a smile. "Sis, with the bond between me and Old Ma, you're being too formal. Alright then. Come over for dinner tonight. Old Ma and I want to properly thank you. Sis-in-law, maybe another time. I have to take Dad for his follow-up checkup this afternoon. Alright, come over when you have time." Shortly after hanging up, Shin Song and Old Ma arrived downtown. Shin Song told Old Ma to pick any restaurant he liked he was treating. But unexpectedly, while Old Ma was selecting a restaurant, they ran into Peng Jingwen. Chapter 9, My Daughter's Call. Peng Jingwen was in a foul mood. He had just learned that Liju Beverage Factory was facing a shortage of raw materials and critically low inventory. As a seasoned veteran, he instantly sensed a business opportunity and called the owner of Liju Beverage Factory. But to his utter astonishment, the owner declared the problem had already been resolved. This left Peng Jingwen feeling utterly miserable, as if he'd missed out on a huge sum of money. Peng Jingwen was still feeling down when he suddenly spotted two figures approaching across the street. He squinted and recognized them as Shin Song and Old Ma. Peng Jingwen's eyebrows shot up. Here came his punching bag. They say human joy is often built upon others' misery. He could vent his frustration by thoroughly mocking Shin Song and Old Ma. And hadn't Shin Song and Old Ma teamed up to corner him yesterday? Today, he would get his revenge. Peng Jingwen quickened his pace toward Shin Song and Old Ma. Well, brother Shin, Old Ma, what a coincidence." Peng Jingwen feigned politeness as he pulled out 2 cigarettes and offered them to Shin Song and Old Ma. "What are you two up to? Didn't manage to find a buyer for those oranges, did you?"
He was convinced Shin Song had been bragging yesterday when he claimed he'd buy Old Ma's oranges at 1.8 yuan per jean. He didn't even believe Shin Song could handle Old Ma's entire 50-ton orange haul. So he assumed Shin Song and Old Ma were still fretting over where to sell their oranges.
Brother Peng.
Shin Song grinned as he accepted the cigarette Peng Jingwen offered. Sorry to disappoint you, but Old Ma and I have already sold all the oranges. The smile froze on Peng Jingwen's face. But moments later, he broke into a smile again.
All those oranges, at 1 yuan 80 each, sold out in a single day? Brother Shin, you can't even brag properly. If I'm not mistaken, Brother Shin, you're just putting on airs, aren't you? Peng Jingwen slapped Shin Song on the shoulder.
No need for that, Brother Shin.
If you're having trouble, just say so. I can help you out. Then he turned to Old Ma. Old Ma, you know me, I'm always happy to lend a hand, ha ha ha.
Old Ma rolled his eyes at Peng Jingwen.
Shut your damn mouth. Shin Song and I just finished selling all the oranges. Old Ma pulled out his phone and showed the payment confirmation text. See that? That's the money from selling oranges. Peng Jingwen was struck dumb. Shin Song and Old Ma. Had they really sold all the oranges? No. No way. Old Ma's payment notification text showed the wrong amount. Even if Old Ma really sold the oranges, he didn't sell them for 1.8 yuan each. You guys?
Peng Jingwen was about to launch a sarcastic counterattack over the price. But before he could open his mouth, Old Ma flung the contract signed with the beverage factory right in his face.
Open your dog eyes and take a good look. 1 yuan 80 per jean, 50 tons of oranges sold out. Peng Jingwen's eyes widened.
Black and white on paper, complete with an official seal clear as day, no faking it.
You?
Peng Jingwen stared at Old Ma in shock.
How did you get in touch with Liju Beverage Factory?
Old Ma looked at Shin Song and said proudly.
Not me.
It was my brother Shin Song.
Hey Peng, pretty awesome, huh? You piece of trash, you dare look down on my brother? You're not worthy. Take your time learning my brother's skills, they'll keep you busy for a lifetime. Peng Jingwen stared at Shin Song in shock.
He'd assumed Shin Song was just a small-time buyer, but never imagined
he'd been looking down on the wrong person.
Shin Song had already hooked up with the Liju Beverage Factory long ago. The more Peng Jingwen thought about it, the more miserable he felt, his face turning green. Losing the major deal with Liju Beverage Factory was already frustrating enough. But now, not only had he lost it, but Shin Song and Old Ma had snatched it away. He was furious. Seeing Shin Song and Old Ma raking in money hurt worse than losing his own.
Brother Peng, why aren't you smiling anymore? You were laughing so happily just a moment ago. Shin Song didn't think much of Peng Jingwen either, and promptly delivered the final blow. Peng Jingwen's mouth twitched. He felt like he was about to spit blood from anger. Brother Peng, we've got things to do. We'll be heading out now. Shin Song patted Peng Jingwen on the shoulder and waved the cigarette between his fingers. Thanks for the smoke. Watching Shin Song and Old Ma walk away, Peng Jingwen was nearly beside himself with rage. He'd been planning to take it out on Shin Song and Old Ma, to mock them. I never expected that not only would I be humiliated by Shin Song and Old Ma, but I'd also lose 2 packs of Zhonghua cigarettes. Damn it! Peng Jingwen kicked a soda can by the roadside in anger. But some unlucky kid had stuffed a rock inside the can. Peng Jingwen's foot slammed into the rock and he immediately grimaced in pain. Ha 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 ha. Shin Song and Old Ma, who hadn't wandered far, burst into laughter at the sight. After Peng Jingwen's little mishap, Shin Song and Old Ma, who were already in high spirits, felt even better. However, when Shin Song told Lao Ma to pick any restaurant, in the end, Old Ma chose a street-side local eatery. When ordering, Old Ma only got 4 bottles of beer, a plate of peanuts, a dish of shredded potatoes, and a serving of twice-cooked pork, all totaling less than 100 yuan. Shin Song knew Lao Ma was aware of his debts and the constant weight of Cece's custody on his mind, so he was trying to help him save money. Some brothers are truly lifelong confidants. Shin Song felt deeply grateful and said nothing more, only silently ordering an extra bottle of good wine and a few meat dishes. After dinner, he saw Old Ma off at the bus stop and headed home himself. On the bus, Shin Song opened his banking app. His account balance stood at 20,600. This 20-something thousand was the actual wealth brought in by yesterday's tip, plus today's lottery winnings of 8,050. In just 2 days, Shin Song had effortlessly earned nearly 40,000. Back in the day, I'd have to work my butt off for half a year just to make this much. Shin Song was thoroughly satisfied with his bounty over these 2 days. At this rate, it wouldn't be long before he could pay off his debts, bring Cece back home, and finally give his family a decent life. Just as Shin Song was lost in thought, a call came in. Caller ID, Cece baby. Outside the car window, dark clouds hung drearily. But Shin Song's mood was bright. Not only had he earned a substantial sum, but he could also talk to his daughter again. Hello, Cece. Shin Song pressed the answer button. Daddy. Cece's soft, sweet voice came through the phone. From the tone of her voice, she sounded really happy. Shin Song felt his mood lift even more. Curious, he asked. What good news happened today to make Cece so happy? Cece giggled sweetly. Because I get to call Daddy today, that's why Cece is so happy. Talking to Daddy is the happiest time for Cece. Hearing this, Shin Song felt both amused and heartbroken. As a father, he should have always been by Cece's side. But now, even getting a phone call with him was difficult for Cece. She had to hide from Zhang Ying to do it. This thought made Shin Song wonder. Cece, how were you able to call Daddy today? Cece chuckled softly. Mom and Uncle took my little brother out to play. Cece's home alone. Today Cece can talk to Daddy for a really long time without worrying about Mom finding out and scolding me. Shin Sung's heart sank and he couldn't smile anymore. Chapter 10, Health Supplements. He knew Zhang Ying didn't care much about Cece. But Cece wasn't even 5 years old. How could Zhang Ying leave Cece home alone? Doesn't Zhang Ying know how dangerous it is for a child to be home alone? Electrocution, falling from heights, fires. All those TV news reports, all those short videos. Hasn't Zhang Ying seen the countless bloody examples? Shin Song clenched his fists so tightly his knuckles turned white. It wasn't that Zhang Ying no longer cared about Cece. Didn't she simply refuse to see Cece as her daughter? Dad? Dad? Hey, Dad? Cece hadn't heard Shin Song's voice and thought the phone had broken. Her chubby little hand tapped anxiously on the cracked screen of the old phone. Daddy's here, Cece. Shin Song suppressed the rage boiling in his chest, forcing a smile as he asked with feigned concern. Are you scared being home alone, Cece? Cece isn't scared. Daddy's with Cece, so Cece isn't scared at all. Cece's soft, sweet voice, tinged with laughter, pierced Shin Song's heart like a bullet. Shin Song felt a stinging sensation in his nose and a burning in his eyes, nearly bringing tears to his own. Daddy, what's wrong? Are you crying? Daddy, don't cry. When Cece isn't with Daddy, Cece can't wipe Daddy's tears. If Daddy cries, Cece feels sad too. She sensed something was wrong with Shin Song and grew anxious, tears welling up in her eyes. Don't be sad, Cece. Daddy isn't crying. Daddy is so happy today. Shin Song took a deep breath, suppressing all negative emotions, and smiled. Cece, today Daddy helped Uncle Ma sell oranges and made over 20,000 yuan. Then I bought a lottery ticket and won an 8,000 yuan jackpot. Really? Shishi's big, watery eyes widened as she jumped up and down excitedly. Wow, Daddy's so amazing. Cece admires Daddy the most. Though he could only hear her voice, Shin Song could picture her adorable expression and felt his heart melt. Cece, Daddy will come get you back soon. Be good and stay safe until I arrive, okay? Yay! I get to be with Daddy. Cece bounced and jumped again, only to accidentally fall on her bottom with an ouch. Shin Song's heart instantly leapt into his throat. Cece's fine, Daddy, don't worry. She rubbed her bottom. Though it stung a little, she didn't cry like other little girls might. Instead, she bravely reassured Shin Song. All the way home, Shin Song and Cece chatted and laughed. After getting off the bus, he didn't hang up right away. Instead, he let his parents talk to Cece when they got home. Hearing their granddaughter's voice, the elderly couple's weathered faces lit up with smiles. They missed Cece dearly. The call lasted until 6 in the evening. Shin Song needed to ensure she was safe home alone. Only when Cece announced that Zhang Ying had returned did she finally hang up. Ugh, Zhang Ying is such a jerk. How could she just leave Cece home alone? Manhwa, we. Mom stopped mid-sentence. She wanted to say they should have brought Cece back earlier. But then she remembered that doing so might put immense pressure on Shin Song. So she swallowed her words. Just as Shin Song was about to reassure his parents, another call came in. The caller ID read, Dr. Zhou. Dr. Zhou Shuer. She was Dad's attending physician. Young and beautiful, she graduated from a prestigious medical university. Unfortunately, without family connections, she ended up returning to work in Hanan. But she never complained about her lot in life. Instead, she was exceptionally attentive to her patients. Dad's heart bypass surgery was performed by Zhou Shuer. The procedure went smoothly, sparing Dad a lot of suffering. After her discharge from surgery, Zhou Shuer still frequently called to follow up. But today's call wasn't a follow-up call. Shin Song remembered he'd planned to take his dad for a follow-up hospital checkup today. But because of Cece, it was already getting dark, and neither he nor his father had left yet. Dr. Zhou, hello. I'm truly sorry. Shin Song apologized immediately after answering the call. He had genuinely forgotten about it. After hearing Shin Song's explanation, Dr. Zhou sighed in relief and said, It's fine. I've been waiting for you at the hospital, but you never showed up. I was worried something might have happened, so I called to check. As long as you're both safe. Shin Song felt a warm glow in his heart and quickly replied. Thank you for your concern, Dr. Zhou. I'm truly sorry about today. Zhou Shuer smiled. No problem. But I'm off duty for today. If you need a follow-up, you'll have to wait until tomorrow. Is that okay? Shin Song replied. Of course it's fine. Thank you, Dr. Zhou. After hanging up,
Shin Song carried last night's leftovers to the kitchen to reheat them.
His father, helping out nearby, remarked with emotion. Good doctors like Dr. Joe are rare these days.
So many doctors find patients troublesome and can't wait to avoid them, but Dr. Joe actually takes the initiative to care.
Shin Song nodded in agreement. It was true. That evening, Shin Song checked her account balance.
There was 34,650 left. The 50,000 yuan from old Ma had already been repaid.
That left 80,000 yuan in outstanding debts.
Specifically, 30,000 to Brother Nyo, 20,000 to Ergo, and 30,000 to Old Huang. After some thought, Shin Song transferred 34,000 yuan to Old Huang. Over the past 2 years, due to that global crisis, 2 of Old Huang's 3 hotpot restaurants had gone under, and the last one was barely hanging on. Even so, like old Ma, Old Huang never pressed him for repayment. He never even complained about his own hardships. Only Brother Nyo and Ergo's 50,000 left. Shin Song opened his memo app, deleted Lao Ma and Lao Huang's names, and felt a wave of relief wash over him.
50,000 shouldn't take too many days, right? Shin Song glanced at the time on his phone. A new intelligence update was about to refresh. Daily intelligence updated.
Today's intelligence: Joe Schwer's parents will be scammed out of 100,000 yuan this afternoon while purchasing health supplements.
Shin Song was stunned into silence. As far as he knew, Joe Schwer's parents were both farmers.
But with a daughter like Joe Schwer who's a doctor, how could they still get tricked into buying health supplements, and for 100,000 yuan at that?
Reality truly is surreal. But then again, news of highly educated people being scammed was nothing new.
So Joe Schwer's parents being tricked into buying 100,000 yuan worth of health supplements wasn't all that surprising.
But this tip won't make me any money. Shin Song let out a bitter laugh.
He had been so hopeful about today's tip.
And this is it? Never mind. The intel from the past few days actually made me money easily, tens of thousands. What more could I ask for?
After everything he'd been through, Shin Song had developed a resilient mindset. Without dwelling on it, he fell asleep. When he opened his eyes again, it was already the next morning.
Since today's tip wasn't profitable, Shin Song went back to delivering food.
As for Joe Schwer's parents being tricked into buying health supplements, he definitely needed to warn her, but not right now. After delivering several orders, Shin Song suddenly received a call from an unknown number.
Who could it be? Chapter 11, Joe Schwer's Gratitude. Shin Song pressed the answer button but remained silent.
While scrolling through short videos, he'd come across a scam where fraudsters wait for you to speak first, record your voice, and then use tech to impersonate you and defraud your loved ones.
Hello, old Shin?
A weary yet familiar voice came through the line.
This was Old Huang? It's me, Old Huang. I changed my number. Old Huang explained. I just saw you transferred me 34,000 last night? Hearing this, Shin Song finally relaxed and said, I've owed you that 30,000 for ages. I made some money recently, so I paid you back first. Old Huang paused for a few seconds before asking. Shin, I'm not short on cash right now. Keep the money for yourself. When you get CC back and things settle down, you can pay me back then.
Shin Song replied, half joking, half serious. I can't bring myself to bring CC back until I've settled the debts I owe you guys.
My conscience just won't let me. After a pause, Shin Song added.
And Huang, I know you're short on cash too.
Keep the money.
I can't help you out much right now, but at least I can pay you back what I owe.
Old Huang sighed and said. All right then. If you ever need money, just let me know immediately.
After a few more words, Old Huang hung up. But not long after, Shin Song received a 4,000 yuan transfer from Old Huang, along with a voice message.
Things been rough lately, buddy.
I'll take the money you owed me, but keep this 4,000 as interest. Reading Old Huang's message, Shin Song shook his head and smiled, saying nothing more. At noon, after delivering takeout, Shin Song returned home and dialed Joe Schwer's number.
Hello, Mr. Shin. What's the matter? Is something wrong? Joe Schwer's gentle voice came through the phone. Dr. Joe, there's something I need to tell you.
Shin Song feigned hesitation as he spoke. This morning while delivering food, I saw your parents talking very closely with someone selling health supplements.
I'm worried.
Joe Schwer was sometimes too busy at work, so her parents would come to the hospital to bring her meals.
So Shin Song had met Joe Schwer's parents before. Joe Schwer wouldn't doubt Shin Song's account. But she couldn't believe her parents would be deceived by health product salespeople. She was a doctor, after all. If her parents fell for health supplement scams, that would be utterly ridiculous.
Still, despite her disbelief, Joe Schwer smiled gently and said,
All right, I understand. Thank you, Mr. Shin. I'll speak with my parents about it.
Dr. Joe, it seems your parents place a lot of trust in that health supplement salesperson, so?
Shin Song added one more reminder.
Regardless of whether Joe Schwer believed him, and regardless of whether Joe Schwer could dissuade her parents, it was no longer Shin Song's concern. Shin Song had done everything she could in good conscience.
Health supplements.
Joe Schwer's delicate brows furrowed slightly.
To be honest, she didn't believe her parents would be tricked into buying health supplements. But Shin Sung's final warning kept gnawing at her conscience. After some thought, Joe Schwer decided to call her parents and ask for clarification. Then, not long after, Joe Schwer dashed out of the hospital. After finishing lunch at home, Shin Sung didn't go out to deliver food again. He needed to take his dad to the hospital for a follow-up checkup. At 3 in the afternoon, Shin Sung arrived at Hanan First Hospital with his father. The registration hall was packed today, with a long line forming outside the doctor's office. After waiting over 40 minutes, it was finally Shin Sung's turn. However, just then, a woman pushed her way in front of Shin Sung. Shin Sung frowned and tapped the woman's shoulder. "Miss, cutting in line isn't very nice, is it?" Huang Quina shrugged off his hand without a word, refusing to acknowledge him. "Hey, lady, please get in line." Seeing this, Shin Sung immediately raised his voice. This woman had no shame, so he wouldn't give her any face either. Shin Sung's shout had an immediate effect. Everyone around turned to look at Huang Quina. Even with Huang Quina's thick skin, she couldn't pretend not to see or hear anymore. Yet, even under the stares of so many, she didn't choose to obediently join the queue. Instead, she lowered her voice and coldly addressed Shin Sung. "Do you even know who the hell I am? Not only do I know Joe Schwer, but Joe Schwer's direct supervisor is my cousin. If you keep this up, I can have you fired with a single word." Huang Quina shot Shin Sung a glance. "If you don't want all that waiting to go to waste and end up not seeing the doctor, then just shut up. Shui na." Hearing the commotion outside, Joe Schwer stepped out of the consultation room. She looked at Huang Quina, then at Shin Sung, whose brow was deeply furrowed. Joe Schwer guessed what had happened. "Cousin. Dr. Joe." Huang Quina's smug expression grew even broader as she saw Joe Schwer approach. She even shot Shin Sung a deliberately provocative glance. As if she couldn't wait for Shin Sung to cause another scene just so Joe Schwer could humiliate him. "Get in line at the back." Joe Schwer shot Huang Quina a fierce glare and coldly ordered. "Ha?" Huang Quina's smug smile froze instantly. She froze in place, staring at Joe Schwer in disbelief. "Mr. Shin, please come inside." Joe Schwer didn't even bother to glance at Huang Quina, instead smiling directly at Shin Sung. Huang Quina's eyes widened in even greater shock. How could Joe Schwer show such respect to Shin Sung? Could Shin Sung be some kind of big shot? Was Shin Sung even more powerful than her cousin? Thinking back to her earlier arrogant demeanor and boastful words, Huang Quina's face flushed crimson instantly, as if Shin Sung had slapped her hard across the face. Cutting in line and still acting so arrogant? Serves you right. Exactly. What a shameless brat. Thought you had special privileges, but you hit a brick wall, huh? The people in line hurled scornful remarks at Huang Quina. Huang Quina's face burned even hotter. Feeling utterly humiliated, she slunk away. This guy deserves all the praise. All eyes turned to Shin Sung. They all assumed Shin Sung was a big shot. Otherwise, why would Joe Schwer risk offending her superior to show such deference to Shin Sung? And for such an important figure as Shin Sung to follow the rules and wait in line without abusing his privileges, how could he not be praised? The crowd watched Shin Sung, both envious of his status and giving him a thumbs up. Shin Sung found the scene both amusing and exasperating. He hadn't done anything, so how had he been imagined as a big shot? He followed Joe Schwer into the consultation room with his father. "Dr. Zhou, thank you so much for earlier." Shin Sung expressed his gratitude. "Mr. Shin, it's actually me who should be thanking you." Joe Schwer poured 2 glasses of water and handed them to Shin Sung and his father. "Mr. Shin, if it weren't for your call this afternoon, my parents would have been swindled out of a full 100,000 yuan by those health supplement salespeople. As a doctor, if my parents had been scammed by those health product salespeople, I'd be the laughingstock for the rest of my life. What's worse, that 100,000 yuan they planned to spend on supplements was money I saved up over 2 years of hard work. If my parents had actually spent that 100,000 on health supplements, my world would have come crashing down." Joe Schwer looked at Shin Sung and said earnestly, "Mr. Shin, to be honest, I didn't believe you at first. Thank goodness you reminded me at the last moment. That's why I decided to call my parents and ask them. Mr. Shin, I can't thank you enough." As she spoke, Joe Schwer bowed deeply to Shin Sung. Then, she pulled out a stack of cash from her desk drawer. Chapter 12, 100,000 yuan. "Mr. Shin, here's 10,000 yuan. Please take it." Joe Schwer pressed the money into Shin Sung's hand. "Dr. Joe, this." Shin Sung was about to refuse. Joe Schwer immediately said, "Mr. Shin, if it weren't for you, I would have lost a full 100,000 yuan. You helped me recover that 100,000 yuan loss. I should be thanking you. This 10,000 isn't much, but you must take it. Otherwise, my conscience won't let me rest." Seeing this, Shin Sung could only think to accept it for now and find an opportunity to repay it later. After all, Joe Schwer was an excellent doctor. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to call her his father's savior. He reminded Joe Schwer not for the money. Taking this 10,000 would be the real burden on his conscience. "Mr. Shin, please don't even think about taking the money now and repaying me later."
Zhou Shuer seemed to have read his mind and said with a smile. If you give me the money later and someone with ulterior motives sees it, claiming you slipped me a bribe, my career would be ruined. So Mr. Shen, take this 10,000 yuan with peace of mind.
Don't feel awkward about it, it's what you deserve. Shin Song was left speechless, caught between laughter and tears.
Zhou Shuer had completely cut off his escape route.
Uncle Shin, please sit down.
Zhou Shuer had already turned her attention to Shin's father Shin Xingming and started the re-examination. Shin Song had no choice but to take the money for now. Before long, the re-examination concluded.
Father Shin Xingming was recovering well post-surgery with no complications. Thank you, Dr. Zhou. Shin Song waved goodbye to Zhou Shuer and took his father home.
On the way, Shin Xingming suddenly asked.
Kamwa, what do you think of Dr. Zhou? Without much thought, Shin Song replied instinctively. She's great, young, pretty, and kind. Plus, she's generous and honest. A rare gem of a doctor. Shin Xingming lowered his voice and asked again. Why don't you try pursuing Dr. Zhou? Ha?
Shin Song felt a wave of exasperation wash over him as he finally snapped back to reality. His dad had been waiting for him here all along.
Song, it's been so long since you and Zhang Ying divorced. You've been alone all this time, it must be so hard. Shin Xingming kept droning on. Dad, mind your own business. I know what I'm doing. Shin Song cut him off. He had no energy to think about this right now.
That evening, after dinner, Shin Song prepared to head out for his delivery rounds. Unexpectedly, his mother Jiang Fan pulled him aside and launched into marriage pushing mode.
Song, you should start thinking about your next relationship.
Even if not for yourself, think about Cece. You can't stay single forever.
Cece is a girl after all.
When she grows up, there are some things only a mother can handle.
Shin Song knew his mother was speaking to practical realities. But he really wasn't in the mood to think about that right now. Mom, all I care about right now is making money.
Shin Song said earnestly.
First, pay off the debt. Then, regain custody of Cece. Everything else could wait. Late at night, Shin Song returned to his room, anticipation rising within him once more.
Yesterday's tip, no matter how you looked at it, had netted him 10,000 yuan.
Hope today's intel packs a bigger punch. Daily intelligence updated.
Today's intelligence, Ning Changhai hid the 100,000 yuan bribe he received from the hospital in a worn leather bag. His wife will toss this bag along with a pile of old clothes out the window during her midday cleaning.
Location, Building 8, BU Mingzhu Residential Complex. Shin Song's pupils contracted. 100,000 yuan. Did the intel system hear his thoughts? This is too good to be true. Shin Song's heartbeat quickened. With this 100,000 yuan, he could not only pay off all his remaining debts but also have 50,000 yuan left over. Life is finally looking up. Shin Song's heart swelled with excitement. But soon, Shin Song regained his composure. According to intelligence reports, this 100,000 yuan was a bribe accepted by Ning Chanha. Shin Song didn't know who Ning Chanha was, but if he could accept bribes, his status must be no small matter. To get his hands on this money, he would need to be more cautious and careful than ever before. The next day, Shin Song took orders and delivered food as usual. Since Ning Chanha's wife was cleaning the room at noon, he could arrive slightly earlier at Building 8 of Jade Pearl Residential Complex. Like Faitsue International, Jade Pearl was also a high-end residential complex. So Shin Song resorted to his old trick, using his delivery job to gain access to Jade Pearl. This time, however, he didn't change out of his delivery uniform. Because the leather bag containing 100,000 yuan was tossed in with a pile of old clothes. As a delivery driver struggling financially, it was perfectly normal for him to pick up usable clothes and a leather bag after finishing his deliveries. If Ning Chanha traced it back to him, he could simply return the 100,000 yuan and avoid any further trouble. But if he had deliberately changed clothes, it would have looked far too suspicious. If Ning Chanha tracked him down, how could he possibly explain it? As for wearing a mask, modern forensic techniques are far too advanced. If Ning Chanha wielded immense influence and could deploy investigative resources, wearing a mask would be useless. Conversely, if Ning Chanha lacks influence, he wouldn't be tracked down even without a mask. But if Ning Chanha could mobilize investigative resources and deliberately wore a mask, that would spell big trouble. So Shin Song simply walked toward Building 8 with confidence. Sure enough, near the trash bins at the base of Building 8, he spotted a pile of old clothes. Several middle-aged women were already rummaging through them. Shin Song feigned surprise as he walked over and began sorting through them too. The women frowned slightly but refrained from mocking or berating him. Shin Song's main target was a torn leather bag containing money, but he first grabbed a men's garment before snatching the bag. He then selected several more pieces of designer men's clothing before walking away cheerfully. A grown man trying to snatch things from us. Ah, delivery guys have it tough too. Let it go. Not many young people practice thrift these days. Actually, it's quite commendable. Only after Shin Song left did the group of women begin whispering among themselves. Leaving the Jade Pearl community, Shin Song rode straight home on his bike.
His mind was completely consumed by that beat-up leather bag stuffed with 100,000 yuan.
An hour later, Shin Song arrived home. Shin Xingming and Zhang Fong saw Shin Song carrying a pile of old clothes and asked what was going on. A friend gave them to me.
You two always say we should be thrifty and frugal, so I accepted them. Shin Song had already prepared his response.
Shin Xingming and Zhang Fong didn't suspect a thing and kept praising Shin Song. Soon after, Shin Xingming and Zhang Fong began trying on the clothes. Though they were second-hand, Shin Xingming and Zhang Fong wore them with genuine delight.
Shin Song felt a pang of sadness. He would never let his parents wear these hand-me-downs.
But now wasn't the time to say much. He'd quietly toss them into the used clothing recycling bin later that night. Once he paid off the debt, he'd take his parents shopping for new clothes. Shin Song thought to himself as he carried the worn leather bag into the room. Chapter 13, Diamond VIP at the Foot Spa.
Closing the door and flipping on the light, Shin Song began rummaging through the leather bag. Knowing the 100,000 yuan inside was the bribe money taken by Ning Changha, Shin Song felt no guilt. 100,000 yuan was no small sum. Although Ning Changha had hidden it as best he could, it was still a substantial sum. Shin Song quickly found the 100,000 yuan tucked away in a hidden compartment of the briefcase. Under the light, the red bills seemed to glow.
Shin Song's breathing grew rapid.
100,000 yuan in his hands.
Delivering takeout wouldn't earn him that much in a whole year. Now, in just a few minutes, he'd just gotten 100,000 yuan.
A tremendous sense of accomplishment filled Shin Song's heart. Shin Song was overjoyed and thrilled, his smile as hard to suppress as an AK-47.
Suddenly, Shin Song's fingertips brushed against something. Something else in the leather bag? Shin Song felt a surge of surprise. Could it be that this leather bag contained wealth not mentioned by the intelligence system?
Shin Song quickly pulled the object his fingertips had brushed against from the inner compartment of his leather bag.
What is this? Shin Song's face betrayed his astonishment. A diamond VIP card for Splendid Foot Spa.
He had thought it was some kind of fortune, but it turned out to be a foot spa card.
But, Shin Song suddenly wondered, could this thing be sold?
A lecherous figure flashed through Shin Song's mind.
Brother Nyo Dahai.
He was Shin Song's high school deskmate and best friend.
His family had some money.
After graduating from a technical college, he took over the family business and was now thriving.
Nyo Dahu was a man of honor.
When Shin Song had just returned to Hanan and was at his lowest point, not only did Nyo Dahu not look down on him, but he also lent him money and offered him a job at his company. He said he couldn't afford to pay too much, but he could guarantee 5,000 yuan a month. 5,000 yuan a month was pretty good money in Hanan, a small fourth-tier city. Moreover, the job Nyo Dahui arranged for him was relatively easy, basically sitting in an office enjoying the air conditioning and sipping tea. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say he was essentially being given 5,000 yuan a month. But since it wasn't in his field, he wouldn't be able to help Nyo Dahai. Taking the salary for nothing made him feel terribly guilty.
So while Shin Song was grateful to Nyo Dahai, he ultimately declined the offer.
Nyo Dahai didn't press the issue, though he often asked in the group chat if Shin Song needed any help and frequently invited them to get foot massages.
Shin Song recalled that the place Nyo Dahai frequented seemed to be the brilliant footbath city.
According to Nyo Dahai, Splendid Foot Spa was the most exciting foot spa in Hanan. As for why it was the most exciting, well, those in the know understood. Shin Song immediately called Nyo Dahai.
Hey, old Shin, what's up? The moment the call connected, Nyo Dahai's lecherous laughter filled the line. After exchanging pleasantries, Shin Song asked, Brother Nyo, do you frequent the brilliant foot spa? At this, Nyo Dahai's laughter grew even more lecherous. He, old Shin, been alone too long? Feeling lonely? Need a foot massage? Come on, tonight I'll treat you to the Splendid Foot Spa.
Head straight to the third floor, guaranteed satisfaction.
Shin Song rolled his eyes and said, Brother Nyo, you've got the wrong idea. It's just that I have a friend. Oh, making friends out of thin air, huh? Nyo Dahai chuckled.
Shin Song was at a loss for words, realizing it would take too long to explain. He gave up trying and continued. I have a friend who wants to learn about the VIP membership at Splendid Foot Spa.
Brother Nyo, could you give him the lowdown? Nyo Dahai chuckled incessantly, teasing Shin Song a bit more before finally saying, the VIP tiers at Splendid Foot Spa are divided into silver, gold, and diamond. Diamond VIP requires spending over 100,000 yuan. I'm still a bit short myself. But once you hit Diamond VIP, Nyo Dahai's eyes lit up with excitement, eager to give Shin Song a proper education on the perks.
Shin Song quickly interrupted, asking,
Brother Nyo, can these VIP cards be resold? Like the Diamond VIP card, it must be worth a lot, right? Nyo Dahai shook his head. No resale. These VIP cards aren't registered under real names, but the foot spa has ways to ensure one card per person, avoiding unnecessary trouble. Shin Song was deeply disappointed. He'd thought he could get a good price for them. Turns out it's worthless. What's up? You wouldn't be thinking of asking me to sell you my gold VIP card, would you? Nyo Dahai's thought process was utterly bizarre. Shen Song was speechless. After exchanging a few more words about the splendid foot spa, he changed the subject. Brother Nyo, I'll transfer the 30,000 I owe you later. Make sure to check it. Ha? You made some money? No wonder you kept asking about the foot spa. Are you really planning something big like getting a diamond VIP membership? If you do, hook me up sometime. Nyo Dahai's mind was completely consumed by the foot spa, leaving Shin Song at a loss for words. After hanging up, Shin Song slipped the diamond VIP card back into the inner compartment of his leather wallet. He had no idea who this Ning Changha was. Not only had he accepted a 100,000 yuan bribe, but he also spent a whopping 100,000 yuan at the splendid foot massage parlor. Shin Song didn't dwell on it. He stuffed the 100,000 yuan in cash into his laptop bag, then headed to the bank to deposit it. Next, he transferred 34,000 yuan to Brother Nyo and 23,000 yuan to Ergo. He opened his memo app and deleted both Brother Nyo and Ergo's names. Standing at the bank entrance, Shin Song exhaled a long breath. The 130,000 yuan debt had always weighed on his heart like a mountain. Now, that mountain had finally vanished. As the saying goes, no debt, no burden. Shin Song felt more at ease than ever before. His breathing felt smoother, his steps lighter, his back no longer ached, and his legs no longer hurt. This must be what they mean when they say happiness lifts the spirits. He glanced at the time. It was still early. But Shin Song had no intention of delivering any more takeout. He decided earlier, after paying off the debt, he'd take his parents shopping for new clothes. His parents were already accustomed to frugality, and after his divorce from Zhang Ying, they became even more cautious about spending on food and clothing, doing everything possible to save money for him. Even during the New Year celebrations, their meals were remarkably simple, let alone buying new clothes. This weighed heavily on his heart. Now he had finally paid off the debt. And he even had 50,000 left over. The new clothes he didn't buy during the New Year must be made up for. What? Buy new clothes? No way, no way. We're getting on in years. What's the point of buying new clothes? When Shin Song returned home, Shin Xingming and Zhang Feng both stubbornly refused. Shin Song had anticipated this. Without another word, he grabbed the elderly couple and dragged them out the door. Hanan First Hospital. Zhou Shuer finally finished seeing her last patient. She stood up and stretched. Though exhausted, she felt a deep sense of accomplishment. After all, healing the sick and saving lives was her calling. She never feared the grind. Suddenly, the examination room door swung open. A man and a woman walked in. The woman was none other than Huang Quina, who had previously interrupted Shin Sung's consultation only to be reprimanded by Zhou Shuer. As for the man, he was Huang Quina's cousin and Zhou Shuer's direct superior, the head of the hospital's cardiology department. Ning Changha. Chapter 14, Gold Bars. Ning Changha, not yet 40, already had a bald patch on his head. His hands were stuffed in his pockets, his gaze icy, deliberately cold, yet it only made him look comically ridiculous. But Zhou Shuer dared not laugh. The moment she saw Ning Changha and Huang Quina, she knew immediately that they meant trouble. Sure enough, Huang Quina slammed the clinic door shut with a loud bang. Then she began pointing at Zhou Shuer and complaining to Ning Changha. Cousin, it was her. She knows I'm your cousin, but when I came to see her about my illness, I just wanted to cut in line. Not only did she refuse to help me, she actually snapped at me. Cousin, she's not just looking down on me, she's looking down on you too. Ning Changha shot Zhou Shuer a cold glance. Zhou Shuer hurriedly explained. Director Ning, it's like this cutting in line isn't permitted without special circumstances. It's hospital policy, as you know. Huang Quina snorted coldly. Rules are rigid, but people are flexible. Zhou Shuer, are you a little cutie? Can't you think outside the box? I can tell you clearly look down on my cousin and want to play devil's advocate with him. Huang Quina crossed her arms, glaring coldly at Zhou Shuer. At first, I thought this Shin Song was some big shot. Turns out he's just a stinking delivery guy. Zhou Shuer, you're defending a stinking delivery guy. If this isn't deliberately targeting me and provoking my cousin, what is it? Zhou Shuer's delicate brows furrowed tightly. Huang Quina was such a master at stirring up trouble. Cutting in line was simply unacceptable behavior. Whether Shin Song was a delivery guy or a wealthy tycoon, Huang Quina shouldn't have cut in line. All right. Ning Changha cleared his throat twice, signaling Huang Quina to stop talking. Then, a gentle smile appeared on Ning Changha's face as he addressed Zhou Shuer. Dr. Zhou, please don't misunderstand. I brought Cui Na here today not to confront her, but to apologize to you. You did the right thing. This was Cui Na's mistake. Don't take it to heart. Both Zhou Shuer and Huang Quina were taken aback. Cousin. Huang Quina stared at Ning Changha in disbelief. Don't say anything. Ning Changha gestured for Huang Quina to calm down, then turned to Zhou Shuer. Dr. Zhou, you're an excellent doctor, honest, young, and ambitious. I admire you. That's why I think you deserve more opportunities. From now on, you'll be on duty every day.
Stay late for overtime and don't leave until after 2 a.m. And your work logs, write them meticulously. Not a single punctuation mark out of place. Is that understood? After all, a doctor as talented as you deserves the highest standards and strictest demands. Hearing this, Wang Quina immediately broke into a delighted smile. She knew it. How could Ning Changhe not be on her side? But Ning Changhe couldn't openly scold or punish Zhou Shuer. But as Zhou Shuer's direct supervisor, playing the smiling tiger and making life difficult for her was a piece of cake for Ning Changhe. Keep up the good work. I believe in you. Ning Changhe left with a smile, his words lingering behind him as he turned and walked away. Zhou Shuer's face drained of color. She knew she'd thoroughly alienated Ning Changhe. In the days to come, she was bound to face endless nitpicking and deliberate obstruction from him. As the department head, it would be all too easy for Ning Changhe to make her life miserable. Regretting it now, aren't you? Huang Quina lifted her chin, her face beaming with smug satisfaction as she sneered at Zhou Shuer in a taunting tone. Who told you to help that stinking delivery guy Shen Song instead of me? Can that stinking delivery guy solve your problems? Ha! Huang Quina continued to taunt Zhou Shuer, venting her pent-up anger. Only when her mouth grew dry did she leisurely stroll out of the consultation room. Zhou Shuer clenched her fists tightly. She didn't regret standing up for Shen Song. Shen Song was a good person, and Huang Quina was the one in the wrong. She only hated that she wasn't powerful enough to stop Huang Quina and Ning Changhe from bullying her. Just endure it for now. Zhou Shuer finally unclenched her fists and sighed helplessly. What was done, and she lacked the means to confront Ning Changhe. What else could she do but endure? That evening, Shen Song brought Xin Xingming and Zhang Fang back home. Both Xin Xingming and Zhang Fang were dressed in new clothes. Though Xin Xingming and Zhang Fang kept insisting they didn't want to waste money on such unnecessary expenses. The shop assistant remarked how fortunate they were to have such a devoted son as Shen Song. Back home, Xin Xingming and Zhang Fang even posted a rare update on their social media, showing off the new clothes Shen Song had bought them. Shen Song felt conflicted. He had only done what any son should do, and the clothes weren't even that expensive, yet his parents were so delighted. I really need to work harder to earn money. Shen Song summoned the intelligence system panel. 5.5 hours remained until the next intelligence update. BU Mingzhu Residential Complex. Building 8, Unit 702. The moment Ning Changhe got home, he headed straight for the bedroom, eager to retrieve the diamond VIP card from Brilliant Foot Spa. After giving Zhou Shuer a good scolding today, he was in a decent mood. Plus, he'd heard the foot spa had hired a new batch of technicians, so he decided to go relax tonight. However, the moment Ning Changhe stepped into the bedroom, he froze in shock. Where was the worn leather wallet that held his VIP card? Ning Changhe couldn't believe his eyes. He remembered clearly that it had always been on the bottom shelf of the wardrobe. How could it be gone? Had he moved it somewhere else? A wave of panic washed over Ning Changhe as he began frantically searching. But after searching for ages, he still couldn't find that worn leather wallet. Ning Changhe was completely panicked. Not only did it hold his diamond VIP card, but also 100,000 yuan in cash. How could it have vanished? Just then, Ning Changhe heard a sound coming from the living room. Ning Changhe rushed into the living room to find his wife, Jia Yuqi, who had just returned from grocery shopping. Honey! Jia Yuqi had just set down the bags of groceries and was about to wipe the sweat from her forehead. Ning Changhe confronted her furiously. Where's that leather bag I left in the wardrobe? Did you touch it? Where did you put it? Startled by Ning Changhe's menacing expression, Jia Yuqi timidly replied. What leather bag? I don't know anything about it. The leather bag. That old, worn-out leather bag. I put it on the bottom shelf of the wardrobe. Now it's gone. You must have taken it. Ning Changhe raised his voice, growing even more vicious. Jia Yuqi grew even more frightened. After a long moment, she finally recalled. When I was cleaning the house this morning, I think I threw a worn-out leather bag downstairs along with a pile of old clothes. What? You threw it away? Ning Changhe's eyes widened, his rage nearly boiling over. But he couldn't spare a moment to think. He took the elevator straight downstairs. But the old clothes and tattered leather bag had already been picked clean by others. Ning Changhe felt the world spinning. He wanted to slap that meddlesome woman, Jia Yuqi, right across the face. Useless woman who only makes things worse. Ning Changhe's face darkened as he glanced up at the surveillance camera nearby. He could find a reason to request access to the neighborhood's surveillance footage. But knowing what the person who took the wallet looks like won't do any good. He couldn't very well go door to door asking people to identify someone from a photo, could he? And if the person who took the wallet isn't even from this neighborhood, it'll be even harder to find them. He can't exactly go to the police about this. This kind of thing shouldn't be blown out of proportion. After much internal struggle, Ning Changhe could only resign himself to his misfortune. 10,000. Oh well, it's gone. As for that VIP card, it wasn't registered under my name anyway, so it shouldn't matter much. Just think of it as losing another 100,000.
Ning Changha could only console himself this way.
As long as that gold bar in the sofa isn't gone.
Chapter 15, Intelligence is Priceless.
Ning Changha lit a cigarette and didn't go home. He feared seeing that meddlesome woman, Jia Yuqi, might make him lose control. It wasn't that he loved Jia Yuqi, it was purely because if he beat her up and she went running to the hospital to make a scene, that would spell big trouble. So Ning Changha crushed his cigarette butt underfoot and headed straight out to drown his sorrows in food and drink. Jia Yuqi waited for Ning Changha in the house for ages, but he never returned. When she called him, he angrily declared he wouldn't be coming back tonight.
This infuriated Jia Yuqi. She flung the phone onto the sofa. She plopped down onto the sofa herself. That bastard, that lunatic, why is he taking his anger out on me? What's wrong with me cleaning the house?
Jia Yuqi never dared raise her voice in front of Ning Changha. But now that Ning Changha was gone, she felt free to vent.
Ning Changha, you're a piece of trash. Jia Yuqi grew angrier the more she thought about it. The creaking of the rickety sofa beneath her only added to her irritation. You piece of junk. I'll sell you tomorrow and buy a new one. Jia Yuqi had long disliked this worn-out sofa and had repeatedly suggested buying a new one. But Ning Changha refused, insisting on upholding the spirit of frugality and simplicity. Anyway, Ning Changha wasn't coming home tonight, and he'd be off to the hospital again tomorrow. Jia Yuqi decided to go all out. She opened her phone and started browsing new sofas online. Early morning. Shin Song lay in bed after showering. A blue light flashed before her eyes. Daily intelligence updated. Today's intelligence: Ning Changha possesses a 300G gold bar obtained through bribery. He has concealed it within an old sofa in his living room. His wife will sell this sofa to a second-hand furniture store this morning. Shin Song's eyes burned with intensity. What the hell? A 300G gold bar. This tip is worth a fortune. After all, gold prices have been skyrocketing lately. Shin Song immediately pulled out his phone and checked yesterday's gold price. 1 gram of gold. 698? 300 grams of gold. That's 209. 400. Nearly 210. 000 yuan.
Shin Song was overcome with excitement. If he were delivering takeout,
it would take him 3 years to earn that much. And during those 3 years, he'd have to work dawn to dusk, endure the elements, constantly face insults, endure cold shoulders, and play the underling. But now, he could earn 210,000 in just one day, and earning this 210,000 yuan would be effortless.
Shin Song felt his heart racing,
lying in bed unable to sleep. But soon,
Shin Song regained his composure.
It's that Ning Changha again.
Shin Song desperately wanted to know Ning Changha's true identity.
Why did the intelligence updates for 2 consecutive days both involve Ning Changha? And he didn't even know Ning Changha. After much pondering, Shin Song still couldn't make sense of it, so he closed his eyes and went to sleep. The next morning,
Shin Song delivered his third order.
She entered the Jade Pearl residential complex while delivering takeout. This time, after delivering the food, Shin Song changed into different clothes. Then, wearing a mask, she kept watch not far from the base of Building 8. The intelligence system had only mentioned that Ning Changha's wife would sell the sofa to a second-hand furniture store, but it didn't specify which one, so he could only arrive early to keep watch. But time ticked by. No one came out carrying the sofa. What's going on? Shin Song couldn't help but wonder if he'd zoned out and missed something. He waited until 12 o'clock. Finally, he saw a group of people carrying a sofa out of Building 8. Shin Song perked up. There was no doubt about it, that sofa was the one hiding the 300 grams of gold bars. The intelligence was clear: Ning Changha's wife would sell the sofa this morning. It was now noon, the tail end of the morning. This sofa must be the one Ning Changha's wife was selling. Shin Song immediately began following from a distance. Originally, Shin Song had intended to buy it outright, but upon reflection, such a move would be too conspicuous, too obviously motivated. If Ning Changha came looking for him, it would be hard to explain. So Ning Changha followed all the way to that second-hand furniture store. Conscience Furniture Store. Owner Gui Changgong examined the newly acquired sofa and nodded approvingly. The sofa was a bit old and had some issues, but with a little repair and refurbishment, it should still fetch a good price. Making a few hundred yuan shouldn't be a problem. Move it to the warehouse, Gui Changgong instructed his employee, planning to repair and refurbish the sofa when he had time later that evening. Boss, Shin Song hurried over. If Gui Changgong repaired and refurbished the sofa, he might very well discover the gold bars inside. So Shin Song hurried over to the sofa and asked, "Boss, how much is this sofa?" Gui Changgong pointed at the worn-out sofa and asked in surprise, "Brother, you want to buy this sofa?" Shin Song nodded and replied, "I'm buying it for my rental place in the urban village. It doesn't need to be fancy, just cheap. This must be one of your newer used sofas, boss. It fits my needs perfectly." Gui Changgong considered it. If Shin Song offered a decent price, Selling it directly to him would be ideal. Bro, I got this for 500. How about 800? I run an open door business. Just moving the sofa over cost me 200 in labor fees. Honestly, I'm only making 100 on this. Guo Changgong looked sincere.
Shin Song smiled without comment.
Though 800 yuan was nothing compared to 300 grams of gold. But if I can spend less, I'd rather spend less. Boss, I've got several rental units on my hands. I've bought a few of these used sofas before.
Shin Song handed Guo Changgong a cigarette and smiled.
700. What do you think? I see this sofa's pretty worn, but it's still a brand name piece, so that's why I'm offering this price. Guo Changgong pondered for a moment. The total cost of this sofa was only 400. Selling it to Shin Song for 700 meant a net profit of 300. Business was tough these days, so a 300 yuan net profit was decent. So Guo Changgong decided to agree. But outwardly, he still looked hesitant, trying to see if he could push the price up further. Shin Song was adamant. Though, after some back and forth haggling, Guo Changgong couldn't push the price up. In the end, Guo Changgong had no choice but to agree to sell it to Shin Song for 700. Bro, are you picking it up yourself, or should I have it delivered? Just so you know, if you want it delivered, I'll charge an extra 100.
Guo Changgong lit a cigarette and asked. I'll drive over myself to pick it up later.
Shin Song promptly transferred the 700 yuan to Guo Changgong before turning to leave. The reason he didn't want Guo Changgong to deliver it was that the sofa was too bulky. Bringing it home would inevitably attract attention. So Shin Song rented a van. He drove the rented van back to Liangxin Furniture Store. He asked Guo Changgong's employees to help load it onto the van. After giving each a pack of cigarettes, Shin Song drove the van away. Shin Song couldn't drive home directly. Instead, he made a series of turns and twists, eventually pulling the van into a desolate field after dark. Only when he was certain no one was around did Shin Song boldly begin searching for the gold bars. Chapter 16, The clever villain's schemes can't match the fool's sudden insight. Where could they be? Shin Song felt around inch by inch, afraid to miss a single spot. Finally, when his hand reached the lower right corner of the sofa, he sensed something unusual. The wilderness was utterly silent. Shin Song could even hear his own heartbeat now. The sensation under his fingertips was unmistakably that of a long, narrow object. It must be the 300-gram gold bar mentioned in the intel. Shin Song took a deep breath. He crouched down, lifted the sofa slightly with one hand, unzipped the cover, and reached into the sofa's hidden compartment. Soon, Shin Song felt the gold bar in his hand. 300 grams, just over half a gene. Yet in Shin Song's hands, it felt heavy and substantial. This wasn't a 300-gram gold bar, it was over 200,000 yuan in cash. Shin Song could feel his heartbeat quicken noticeably. Huff. After several deep breaths, Shin Song finally managed to calm himself. He placed the gold bar into the laptop bag he had prepared in advance. Then he pushed the sofa out of the van, letting it roll into the overgrown brush. After finishing all this, Shin Song wiped the sweat from his forehead, sat back in the driver's seat, took several deep breaths, and drank a large gulp of water before driving the van back into the city. After returning the van, Shin Song didn't immediately sell the gold bars. Instead, he headed straight home. He planned to wait and see how things unfolded. If Ning Changha had the means to track him down, one day would be plenty of time. If Ning Changha hadn't shown up by tomorrow afternoon, it would mean everything was fine, and he could go sell the gold bars for cash. Placing the laptop bag containing the gold bars by the wall near his pillow, Shin Song took a shower and lay in bed, mapping out his future plans. If the gold bars sold smoothly, his savings would reach nearly 250,000 yuan. With no outstanding debts now, he should be able to regain custody of Cece, right? If so, he'd bring Cece back immediately. After pondering, Shin Song decided to consult a lawyer once the gold was sold. He picked up his phone to check the news, waiting for updates. Meanwhile, Ning Changha also returned home. Though he still harbored resentment toward his wife, Jia Yuqi, he couldn't stay away for 2 days straight. He was at a critical juncture in his promotion. He couldn't afford trouble at home. Therefore, not only did Ning Changha return home today, but he also bought Jia Yuqi a set of cosmetics as an apology. At the door, Ning Changha took a deep breath, a smile spreading across his face before he pushed open the door with the cosmetics in hand. Honey, Ning Changha had just stepped inside with a beaming smile. He froze in his tracks. The sofa in the living room, how was it different? Ning Changha's eyes widened. He stared at the sofa, examining it again and again. Finally certain, he hadn't been seeing things, hadn't misread it. The sofa had truly been replaced. The original one was gone. Honey, Jia Yuqi heard Ning Changha's voice and emerged from the bedroom. Seeing the expensive cosmetics in Ning Changha's hands, her face lit up with joy. She rushed over to give him a hug.
She knew it, Ning Changha still loved her deeply. Yesterday, he must have been in a bad mood at work, which is why he snapped at her. Get away from me! Ning Changha shoved Jia Yuqi away with one hand. Jia Yuqi froze in shock, staring blankly at him. Husband! Ning Changha stormed over to the new sofa and demanded sharply. Who gave you permission to replace the sofa? Where's the original one? Answer me! Jia Yuqi shuddered at Ning Changha's roar. He was even fiercer than yesterday. She'd never seen him this angry before. The old sofa. I sold it to a second-hand furniture store. It was so old, I even got 250 yuan for it. Originally, Jia Yuqi had planned to tell Ning Changha during dinner, hoping he would praise her for being a good homemaker. But instead, not only did Ning Changha not praise her, he actually yelled at her. Jia Yuqi felt utterly wronged. Sold? For 250? Ning Changha's jaw twitched. He was furious. Damn it, how had he ended up marrying such a damn woman? The gold bars hidden in that sofa were worth over 200,000 yuan, and Jia Yuqi sold it for a measly 250? Uing moron. Ning Changha was boiling with rage. He wanted to slap that stupid woman Jia Yuqi across the face. Over 200,000 yuan. That's no small sum. Who did you sell it to? Give me their number. Now. After calming down slightly, Ning Changha yelled at Jia Yuqi. He had no idea who had picked up the bag. And the 100,000 yuan inside was surely gone for good. But he knew for certain who had taken the sofa. Perhaps he could track down that gold bar. The number. Jia Yuqi had no idea why Ning Changha was so furious. Hesitantly, she handed him the phone. Beep beep beep. After connecting the call, Ning Changha immediately questioned Guo Changgong, the owner of the second-hand furniture shop. Guo Changgong said that his old sofa, which had just been hauled to the second-hand furniture store, was bought before it could even be repaired or refurbished. Mr. Guo. Ning Changha frowned and told Guo Changgong he had to take responsibility for his words. Guo Changgong grew flustered and told Ning Changha that if he didn't believe him, he could go to the police station to check the surveillance footage. Call the police? Ning Changha dared not. The gold bars hidden in the sofa and the 100,000 yuan in the leather bag were both ill-gotten gains. He felt uneasy inside. Otherwise, he wouldn't have hidden it away. Not even daring to tell his wife, Jia Yuqi. But if he didn't report it, this gold bar might as well be lost. Clunk. The phone clattered to the floor. Ning Changha felt dizzy and nearly fainted from sheer anger. It's over. Everything's ruined. The gold bar was gone. Over 200,000 yuan worth of gold bars. Ning Changha struggled to breathe, feeling as if he might suffocate. Honey. Jia Yuqi rushed over to support Ning Changha. What's the matter? I just wanted to make our home better. Ning Changha was furious beyond words. He'd racked his brains to come up with all that money, only for Jia Yuqi to come up with a brilliant idea. Slap. All the money was gone. Damn it. The more Ning Changha thought about it, the angrier he became. He felt like his brain was about to explode. It was time for the intelligence update again. Daily intelligence has been updated. Today's intelligence: the supermarket downstairs is selling a batch of Wulianya liquor. This batch features a prize draw upon opening. 2 bottles contain the grand prize. Shin Song raised an eyebrow. Another piece of intel that could directly earn him money. Though compared to the 100,000 from the day before yesterday and the 200,000 from yesterday, today's tip was clearly worth a lot less. But Shin Song wasn't discouraged. This kind of money was like finding it on the street while walking. What more could you ask for? With a heart full of joy, Shin Song drifted into a deep sleep. The next day, Shin Song still woke up bright and early. Originally, he hadn't planned to wake up so early today. He figured that since his debts were paid off, he could sleep in a little. But his biological clock had already kicked in. Even with the alarm turned off, he woke up at his usual time. And once awake, he couldn't fall back asleep even lying in bed. Despite this, Shin Song felt utterly content. It was certainly better than being forced by life to rise early for work. He lingered in bed for a while longer, finally rising leisurely as dawn approached. It had been ages since he'd felt this relaxed. No debt, no worries. That saying really holds true. After breakfast, Shin Song slipped into his delivery uniform and headed downstairs. Just then, the supermarket downstairs opened its doors. Chapter 17, 2 First Prizes. Brother Shen, Li Feiyang, the supermarket owner, short and stout, smiled and greeted Shin Song the moment he walked in. In this old neighborhood, personal connections weren't yet so cold and distant. Many people knew each other, especially business owners like Li Feiyang, who kept many names in his memory. When someone walked in, greeting them warmly by name made them feel more at home, and that's how business thrived. Mr. Li, business is booming. Ha! Shin Song chuckled as he headed toward the liquor rack. Thanks, Brother Shen. Seeing Shin Song seemed to be buying wine, Li Feiyang asked, Brother Shen,
Buying wine this early, are you expecting guests at home?
Shin Song shook his head and explained.
It's a buddy's birthday. I didn't want to show up empty-handed, so I thought I'd grab a couple bottles of good wine. After I finish delivering these takeout orders, I'll bring it over. Hearing this, Li Feiyang immediately suggested, since you're buying premium liquor, why not check out the Wulianya on the top shelf? It's $10.99 per bottle, a bit pricey, but it'll definitely make you look super impressive. It's perfect whether you're gifting it or sharing it with your best buds. And most importantly, this Wulianya has a promotion. Open the bottle for a gift. Scan the QR code for a prize. The grand prize is 999 yuan in cash. Shin Song raised an eyebrow. The intel said there were 2 first prizes here. That meant 998 yuan in prize money. Subtract the 198 yuan cost of buying the liquor. This time, he could net 800, though it couldn't compare to 100, 000 or 200, 000 yuan. It's still over a month's wages for a delivery driver. After everything he'd been through, Shin Song now knew how to be content. Getting 800 for free, what more could he ask for? But the problem was, Shin Song looked up at the top shelf of the wine rack. 12 bottles of wine were neatly arranged there. How was he supposed to pick out the 2 first prize bottles from this selection? At 1,099 yuan each, buying them all would mean losing money even if he hit 2 grand prizes. Buy them one by one. Open each bottle as you go to check for prizes? If luck was on his side, maybe the first 2 bottles would be the grand prize winners, then everyone would be happy. But if luck wasn't on his side, he'd still end up losing money. Luck is such an unpredictable thing. Shin Song didn't want to pin his hopes on something so unpredictable. As Shin Song hesitated over which 2 bottles to choose, his gaze slowly sweeping over the rows of Wulianya bottles. Suddenly, Shin Song noticed that one of the bottles seemed to glowing. Shin Song rubbed his eyes, certain he wasn't seeing things. The 4th bottle of Wulianya from the left was indeed emitting a faint golden glow. Could it be? Was this the Wulianya that had won first prize? Just then, another old man walked into the supermarket. He had a red nose, clearly a frequent drinker. Hey, Li, has the Wulianya come in yet? The old man inquired. Mr. Chang, it's here. It's over there. Li Feiyang pointed to the liquor rack behind Shin Song. Grandpa Chang nodded and walked over to Shin Song's side. Shin Song dared not hesitate any longer. If this Mr. Chang were to swoop in and take it, he'd be out of luck. So, Shin Song picked up the 4th bottle of Wulianya on the left, then swiftly glanced at the 3rd bottle on the right, another one radiating a faint golden glow. Shin Song walked over to Li Feiyang with the liquor and said, Mr. Li, I'll just grab this one. It's just between brothers drinking, opening it won't hurt. If I hit the jackpot, you can cash it out for me right away. Sure thing, Brother Shen. Hoping your luck explodes and you hit the jackpot, Li Feiyang said cheerfully. Shin Song scanned the QR code to pay first, then opened both bottles in front of Li Feiyang and scanned the QR codes on their caps. Before long, Shin Song's face lit up with surprise. Holy crap, I actually won. Li Feiyang hadn't paid much attention. After all, this was a low probability event. He didn't think Shin Song could win even the 3rd prize, let alone the first prize. After all, he had only displayed 12 bottles of liquor. Could Shin Song really win a prize by randomly picking any 2 of them? The odds were too low. But to Li Feiyang's astonishment, Shin Song not only won a prize, he won the first prize. The prize money was 999. After deducting the 198 yuan spent on the 2 bottles, Shin Song was left with 801 yuan. While others spent money on Wulianya, Shin Song essentially got 2 bottles for free and netted a profit of 800. Li Feiyang eyed Shin Song suspiciously. Shin Song never bought liquor before, but today he went all out and hit the jackpot. Holy, I won again. Shin Song scanned the 2nd bottle cap, stared at the winning notification on his phone, and once again feigned surprise with a loud shout. What? Won again? Li Feiyang craned his neck to get a better look. Holy crap, he really did win again. And it was another first prize. Li Feiyang stared at Shin Song, his mouth twitching slightly. When others came to buy liquor from him, they spent money. Shin Song came to buy liquor from him to make money. That's some crazy luck. Li Feiyang watched Shin Song with envy in his eyes. Today alone, Shin Song had netted a cool 800 yuan. Running this small supermarket, Li Feiyang only made a little over 10,000 in profit each month. Shin Song bought 2 bottles of liquor and made more than Li Feiyang did after working his butt off for half a month. Where could he even complain about that? Thanks, Boss Li. If you hadn't recommended this Wulianya, I never would have won this big prize, Shin Song said after cashing in his prize. Hearing this, Li Feiyang felt like crying. He only intended to profit from Shin Song, not help him make money. If he'd known these 2 bottles held the top prize, he would have opened them himself. Why let Shin Song get in on it? Just then, old Chen walked over carrying 2 bottles of liquor. Uncle, why don't you open yours and scan the code to see if you won? Though Li Feiyang felt bitter inside, he kept a cheerful smile on his face. A businessman couldn't afford to be so emotional. What? Win a prize? Grandpa Chang looked utterly astonished. Li Feiyang pointed at Shin Song and said, Brother Shin just bought 2 bottles of Wulianye, and both hit the jackpot. He netted 7,800 yuan. Brother Shin was so excited when he won. He shouted out loud, Didn't you hear, old man? Grandpa Chang pointed to his ears and waved his hand, indicating his hearing wasn't what it used to be. Following Li Feiyang's instructions, he opened the bottle and scanned the QR code. Surprisingly, he actually won 2 consolation prizes, though they only totaled about 100 yuan. It wasn't bad. Is the winning rate really this high? Li Feiyang was astonished. After Shin Song and old Cheng left, he pondered for a moment and opened 2 bottles of Wulianye liquor. If Shin Song and old man Cheng could win, surely he could too? Li Feiyang scanned the code, and the result was, Thank you for participating. Thank you for participating. Both bottles were duds. Li Feiyang got a little carried away and opened 2 more bottles. Same result, just thank you for participating. Li Feiyang was so flustered his face turned red. Shin Song won 2 first prizes, while he got nothing. Why was the gap between people so huge? As Shin Song stepped out of the supermarket, watching old man Chang walk away with his bottle of liquor, a sudden flash of inspiration struck him. Today, he could make another profit. He hurried to catch up with old man Chang. Chapter 18, Custody of the Daughter. Grandpa Chang. Shin Song called out twice, but old man Chang showed no response. His hearing was clearly failing. With no other choice, Shin Song jogged ahead of him. Uncle, I need to discuss something with you. Grandpa Chang had just won 100 yuan and was in a good mood. Seeing Shin Song, he asked cheerfully, What's on your mind, young man? Shin Song waved the 2 bottles of Wulianye in his hand. Uncle, I know you love liquor. How about I sell you these 2 bottles of Wulianye? You saw it yourself. I bought this liquor from Mr. Li, and we even opened it in front of him. Grandpa Chang was tempted, but his eyes darted around as he asked, What about the price? Shin Song smiled broadly and said, The original price is 10.99. I'll sell it to you for 888. That's almost a 20% discount. Plus, 888 is a lucky number. What do you think? Grandpa Chang was even more tempted by this. A bottle of Wulianye for 888? That's definitely not a bad deal. But when it came to money, every penny saved counted. So, clearing his throat, old man Chang said, Young man, you've already opened the cap, and you're still selling it to me for 888? That's a bit unfair. Shin Song understood exactly what Grandpa Chang was thinking and smiled. Uncle, you're a connoisseur of liquor. You should understand the situation. I only offered it to you because I know how much you love wine. If you're not interested, I'll just keep it for myself. With that, Shin Song turned to leave, silently counting in his mind. 4, 3, 2. Young man, wait. Old man Chang hurriedly grabbed Shin Song. 888 a bottle, it's settled. Shin Song chuckled. Old man? Gotcha. After collecting the money, Shin Song waved goodbye to old man Chang with a satisfied smile. Sitting on his electric scooter, Shin Song checked the transaction record. In just half an hour, he'd netted another 9,576. What a rush! Shin Song rode his electric scooter, weaving through streets and alleys delivering takeout once more. Before, delivering food was about making money to pay off debts, a necessity forced by life, and it felt exhausting. Now it was different. With his debts paid off, delivering food felt more like a casual way to earn extra cash. His mood was completely different, and he felt much more relaxed. Around noon, Shin Song walked into a law firm. Good day, sir. A female lawyer approached. She was strikingly attractive, dressed in a tailored suit and trousers, her high heels adding a polished, professional touch to her clean-cut appearance. A warm smile graced her face. She showed no sign of disdain or sarcasm toward Shin Song, despite his delivery uniform. My name is Song Qingli. How may I assist you? Hello, Attorney Song. Shin Song briefly explained the situation regarding his daughter's custody to Song Qingli, then asked, Attorney Song, how can I regain custody of my daughter? Song Qingli poured Shin Song a glass of water, thought for a moment, and said, Mr. Shin, based on your description, your ex-wife currently works in Shanghai, earning a monthly salary of 20,000 yuan, with annual bonuses and various incentives. Her total annual income exceeds 400,000 yuan, and she owns a car and a home in Shanghai, correct? Shin Song took the water, thanked Song Qingli, and nodded. Yes, but my daughter, Cece, prefers to live with me. Song Qingli's expression grew serious. Generally speaking,
the child's opinion carries significant weight in determining custody.
But, Mr. Shin, your daughter is too young. So, the decision ultimately comes down to financial capability. Song Qingli looked at Shin Song and said, Mr. Shin, if you wish to regain custody of your daughter, first, you need a stable income and a relatively respectable job. Don't misunderstand me, Mr. Shin. I'm not discriminating against your job. It's just, Shin Song waved his hand with a smile. He understood Song Qingli was merely stating the objective facts, so he dismissed her concern and urged her to continue. Song Qingli then continued, besides a respectable job with stable income, Mr. Shin, your savings should be at least 500,000 yuan, and you need to own a home and a car. Ideally, the home should be in a good school district, because a child's education is paramount. After all, After finishing, Song Qingli paused, then added, Mr. Shin, under normal circumstances, the requirements wouldn't be quite so stringent. But there's a serious issue. Compared to the Magic City, Hanan City falls far short. Therefore, your financial strength must be robust enough to guarantee your daughter a good living environment and learning environment. Shin Song fell silent for a moment. He had assumed that if he successfully sold the gold bars tonight, he could regain custody of his daughter. Little did he expect. He was still a bit short. Mr. Shin, please don't put too much pressure on yourself. Song Qingli tried to comfort Shin Song. In her view, Shin Song was just a delivery driver. He'd likely never regain custody of his daughter in this lifetime. Although, once Shin Song's daughter grew up, her wishes would be the deciding factor. But by then, would she even want to live with him? After all, she'd lived in the affluent metropolis of Shanghai for years. Would she truly choose to follow Shin Song, a delivery driver, back to the fourth-tier small city of Hanan? Song Qingli sighed. She could imagine Shin Song's helplessness and despair. But, helplessness? Despair? Shin Song felt neither. Even without the intelligence system, Shin Song wouldn't give up on regaining custody of his daughter. And now, with the intelligence system's support, Shin Song was certain he would regain custody of his daughter. It was merely a matter of days earlier or later. Thank you, Attorney Song. Shin Song stood up, paid the consultation fee, and smiled. Once I meet the requirements, I'll definitely hire you to fight this case and win back custody of my daughter. Song Qingli was momentarily taken aback. Then, she assumed without thinking, Shin Song was an optimistic person. Or perhaps, for the sake of male pride, he refused to show helplessness or despair in front of her. Song Qingli understood Shin Song, though she didn't believe Shin Song would ever reach that point. Still, she extended her fair, jade-like hand, smiling as she said, all right, once Mr. Shen meets the conditions, I will do everything in my power to help him bring his daughter back. Shin Song shook hands with Song Qingli and departed. Watching Shin Song's retreating figure, Song Qingli couldn't help but shake her head and sigh. She could sense that Shin Song was a good father. But alas, reality was just that cruel. After delivering takeout all afternoon, by evening, Shin Song returned home. Ning Chanhe still hadn't made a move. Shin Song suspected Ning Chanhe probably didn't wield that much influence. Or perhaps he dared not make a fuss after all. The 100,000 yuan in gold bars were bribes he had accepted. He likely wouldn't dare escalate the situation, lest he bring ruin upon himself. With this thought, Shin Song picked up the laptop bag containing the gold bar and headed out. Chapter 19, 200,000 in hand. Night had fallen. The bank had long since closed. But Shin Song hadn't planned to sell the gold bars at a bank anyway. Although banks offered slightly higher prices, it was too likely to attract trouble. So Shin Song had long decided to sell the gold bars to a jewelry store outside. Hey, handsome, what can I get for you? The female owner of the street-side gold shop was cracking sunflower seeds when she spotted Shin Song. She quickly tossed the shells into the trash bin, wiped her hands, and rose to greet him warmly. We've got everything here, gold bracelets, gold necklaces, silver rings, silver earrings, all guaranteed genuine gold and silver. Fake? 10 times your money back. Shin Song smiled. Madam, I want to sell gold. How much do you pay? The shop owner quickly replied. Handsome, the highest I can offer is 690 yuan per gram. Before leaving home, Shin Song had checked today's international gold price, 697 yuan per gram, slightly lower than yesterday's rate. The shop owner's offer was below the international rate, which Shin Song had anticipated. Nevertheless, he engaged in a round of haggling with the shop owner. They finally settled on 692 yuan per gram, 300 grams of gold bars, total, 207, 600 yuan, 200,000 yuan in hand. Shin Song couldn't help but smile excitedly as he looked at the deposit notification. Handsome, if you have more gold in the future, come back to me. I guarantee you the highest price. After transferring the funds to Shin Song, the female owner reached out and placed her hand on his. Under the lights, her eyes seemed to sparkle with desire, her expression hinting at hidden meaning. What could she do? She was of a certain age, single, and suddenly faced with a handsome man like Shin Song, it was only natural for her heart to stir. They were all adults, so speaking plainly was acceptable and actions could be even more direct. So the female owner tentatively reached out to grasp Shin Song's hand. Shin Song quickly took a step back, finally snapping out of his daze. The female boss wasn't just after his gold, she wanted his. Goodbye, boss. I'll definitely come back next time. Shin Song gave an awkward smile and hurried out of the jewelry store. This wasn't the first time he'd encountered such a situation. Sometimes when delivering takeout, women would pull him inside for a drink, scaring the hell out of him. Sitting on a roadside bench, he opened his phone's front camera and stared at his reflection on the screen. Though the past few days had been less grueling, the weariness and haggardness from sleeping rough still lingered. Still, thanks to his naturally good looks, his face remained quite handsome. But compared to his peak looks, it was a world apart. Time is a ruthless killer, Shin Song mused. Once he had money, he'd invest in skincare to try and regain his peak looks. To put it bluntly, back when women were after him, they were at least 70 or 80 points on the looks scale. But that female boss earlier? Her looks barely scraped by. If things kept going like this, Shin Song dared not imagine what kind of women would start eyeing him in the future. Suddenly, a shrill car horn blared behind him, snapping Shin Song back to reality. Ha! What were you thinking about? Shin Song shook his head and patted his cheeks. Was it because he'd been single too long? Or was it that a full stomach breeds lust? How had she started dwelling on such messy thoughts? She still hadn't regained custody of Cece, and her parents were still living in that old, cramped apartment. No time to drift, gotta keep grinding for that cash. Comrade, you still have work to do. Shin Song chuckled to himself as a reminder. He picked up his phone and opened the banking app. Balance, 255. 668. In the past, after life dealt him a crushing blow, Shin Song would have been satisfied with this amount. But after discussing with Song Qingli at the law firm, Shin Song knew this wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to buy a car or a house. And it certainly wasn't enough to get his daughter back. Wonder if tonight will bring another big money tip? Shin Song put on his helmet, continuing to take delivery orders while holding on to that hope. 11:30 p.m. Shin Song planned to head home after finishing this last delivery. Hello? Your order is here. Where should I leave it? Shin Song walked into the first hospital carrying the food and asked over the phone. Thank you. Could you hold on for a moment? I'll be right over to pick it up. The voice on the other end of the line. Sound familiar? Could it be Zhou Shuer? Soon. Shin Song confirmed it really was Zhou Shuer. Mr. Shen. Zhou Shuer was also startled when she saw Shin Song. She knew Shin Song was a delivery driver, but never imagined such a coincidence. Dr. Zhou, still working this late? Shin Song asked casually as he handed over the takeout. Ah, I'm working overtime today. Zhou Shuer's expression turned slightly awkward. Dr. Zhou, what's wrong? Shin Song asked curiously. Nothing, just exhausted from working overtime. Zhou Shuer smiled and waved to Shin Song. I'll get back to work now. Goodbye, Mr. Shin. Drive safely. Thanks, Dr. Zhou. Goodbye. Shin Song watched Zhou Shuer's retreating figure without giving it much thought. However, as he passed the nurse's station, Shin Song overheard two on-duty nurses seemingly discussing him. Dr. Zhou's being picked on by Director Ning, it's probably because of that delivery guy, right? Could that delivery guy be Dr. Zhou's boyfriend? What are you thinking? How could Dr. Zhou possibly be interested in that delivery guy? Dr. Zhou is young and principled. When Director Ning's cousin tried to cut in front of that delivery guy, Dr. Zhou spoke up for him. Now Director Ning's cousin holds a grudge. So that's why Director Ning's giving Dr. Zhou a hard time? Exactly. Dr. Zhou's been working herself to death these past few days. She finally had time to order takeout for dinner today after working non-stop. It's so rough. Who knows how long Director Ning will keep targeting him? Shin Song couldn't make out the entire conversation between the two on-duty nurses, but from the fragments she caught, she could piece together the gist. Shin Sang's heart tightened. He hadn't realized yesterday's incident would cause Zhou Shuer so much trouble. No wonder Zhou Shuer was still working late. No wonder her expression had seemed so unnatural earlier. It turned out she'd offended some director because of him. Shin Song felt deeply guilty. After a moment's thought, he called Zhou Shuer. Mr. Shin. What's wrong? Zhou Shuer. Starving by now.
had just opened her takeout and taken a bite when Shin Sung's call came through. Without hesitation, she set down her takeout and pressed the answer button to ask. Nothing, I just heard. Dr. Joe, did you offend Director Ning because of me? Shin Sung's face was filled with regret. No, that's not true at all. Mr. Shin, who told you that? It's pure rumor. Joe Schwer quickly denied it, not wanting Shin Sung to feel burdened. After all, Shin Sung hadn't done anything wrong in this matter. She didn't want him to overthink it. Dr. Joe, what's that Director Ning's full name? Seeing Joe Schwer like this only deepened Shin Sung's guilt, making him even more determined to resolve her trouble. Mr. Shin, please don't act impulsively. Joe Schwer grew anxious, fearing Shin Sung might do something reckless, something she would regret for the rest of her life. Dr. Joe, what are you thinking? I have elderly parents and young children to care for. I wouldn't do anything illegal or unethical. Shin Sung smiled reassuringly as he explained. I plan to apologize to Director Ning tomorrow and ask him to stop targeting you. After all, this whole mess started because of me. I owe it to you to make things right. Only then did Joe Schwer breathe a sigh of relief. Dr. Joe, if you hadn't told me, I would have asked the nurses. I'd have found out anyway. But if I'd asked them, they might have laughed at me. Shin Sung said deliberately. No, Mr. Shin. I'll just tell you then. Joe Schwer sighed helplessly. Director Ning, his full name is Ning Changha, is the head of our cardiology department and my direct supervisor. Shin Sung froze instantly. Ning Changha? Chapter 20, The Big Gold Rolex. Shin Sung remembered that name all too well. He'd given him over 300,000 yuan in two separate instances. How could Shin Sung not remember it? So he's the department head at the hospital, no wonder he could take in so much bribe money. Shin Sung felt even more relieved now. As the department head, Ning Changha wielded considerable power within the hospital. But outside the hospital? Ning Changha certainly didn't have the power to deploy criminal investigation resources. Therefore, he could rest assured that Ning Changha wouldn't come looking for him. And as for Ning Changha giving Joe Schwer a hard time, well, there's a solution for that too. But how exactly to proceed still requires careful consideration. Mr. Shin, you absolutely mustn't act impulsively. Seeing Shin Sung fall silent, Joe Schwer's heart leapt to her throat, fearing he might lose his composure. Hello, Dr. Joe, can you hear me? My apologies, this crappy phone really needs replacing. Shin Sung began his act. Joe Schwer breathed a sigh of relief. So it was just a faulty phone that had cut off Shin Sung's voice. I can hear you, Joe Schwer replied, offering a few more words of comfort to Shin Sung. Shin Sung, meanwhile, coaxed more information out of Joe Schwer about Ning Changha. The most crucial piece of information was, Ning Changha was currently at a critical stage in his promotion. Therefore, Shin Sung made up his mind. After ordering Joe Schwer a cup of milk tea, Shin Sung rode his bike home. But halfway there, a flash of blue light appeared. Daily intelligence refreshed. Today's intelligence, the Taobao store Ocean Freight 101 is selling overseas blind boxes. Purchase a random 50 gene, original unopened package, to receive a Rolex gold watch valued at 120,000 yuan. Shin Sung couldn't help but laugh. Another money-making tip. And worth 120,000 yuan. Awesome. But, how could you guarantee buying a blind box online that definitely contained a Rolex or a big gold watch? If you buy in person, you can see which blind box is glowing and just grab that one. But that's impossible online. Shin Sung frowned slightly, pondering as she pulled the car over to the side of the road. She pulled out her phone and searched for the Haiyun 101 store. She tapped claim coupon to purchase. She found the random 50 gene, original unopened package, option. Shin Sung's eyes widened in delight. Because, only 5 items left of the random 50 gene, original unopened package. No need to hesitate. Just buy all 5 remaining items. Wouldn't that guarantee getting that 120,000 yuan Rolex gold watch? Shin Sung thought it over but didn't place the order immediately. Instead, he consulted customer service first. Dear customer, if you need more blind boxes, please come back in 2 days. Due to overseas delays, shipping items back to China takes time, so there will be a gap in restocking. We sincerely apologize. Dear /flowers. Shin Sung chuckled to himself. Restocking wouldn't happen for 2 days. That settled it. The Rolex gold watch was among the last 5 blind boxes remaining. Shin Sung placed his order immediately, spending a total of 500 yuan. Blind boxes. Shin Sung often came across various blind box unboxing videos online. Without exception, the unboxing streamers always ended up losing big, with comments sections often mocking them as suckers. Shin Sung also believed blind boxes were scams. After all, you're opening a blind box, but the sellers know exactly what they're putting inside. Even if Shin Song bought one like this today, a package stuck at the delivery station, never claimed, and eventually repackaged as a blind box, there were still plenty of fakes. Or rather, 99% of them are fake. Even if they were genuine abandoned packages, sellers would open them, keep the valuable items for themselves, and only repackage the worthless ones into blind boxes for sale. Only a tiny fraction of these blind box packages are genuinely unopened and original. Who'd have thought I'd end up buying blind boxes one day? Shin Song chuckled to himself. With the intelligence system in hand, he was like having a pair of fiery eyes. Others might get scammed or ripped off, but not him. Whenever he made a move, he was guaranteed a payoff, and a hefty one at that. After placing the order, Shin Song was just about to continue cycling home, but Joe Schwer's call came through. Mr. Shin, did you buy me that milk tea? Seeing Mr. Shin on the bubble tea order, Joe Schwer immediately thought of Shin Song. Yep, Shin Song didn't deny it. After all, he'd ordered the milk tea for Joe Schwer without any ulterior motives. It was simply a way to express his gratitude. Thank you, Mr. Shin. Joe Schwer sipped the sweet milk tea, feeling warm inside. She'd seen it before, people helping others only to be met with cold shoulders or betrayal. Shin Song had heard she'd offended Ning Changha, yet instead of distancing himself, he'd offered to help. This deeply moved her and made her feel a newfound respect for Shin Song. After a brief exchange, Shin Song hung up the call. Afterward, Shin Song opened Taobao once more. The internet today offered everything imaginable. Taobao even offered services to send text messages on behalf of others. Typically, this service was used by couples to add a touch of romance. For instance, having 100 strangers send congratulatory messages, or after a fight, hiring someone to send apology texts to the other person. Shin Song selected the highest-rated shop, which promised excellent confidentiality. After placing the order and specifying the message content, Shin Song tucked away his phone and headed home for a good night's sleep. Meanwhile, Ning Changha hadn't been sleeping soundly these past few days. He usually fell asleep by 11, but at 2 a.m., he had a dream and felt the urge to urinate. So he grabbed his phone and headed to the bathroom. Just as he aimed at the toilet bowl, Ning Changha jolted awake. He opened his phone and saw a text message. Director Ning, don't push your luck. You don't want to lose your chance of promotion over the brilliant foot spa incident, do you? The message was simple. Yet Ning Changha felt a chill run from head to toe. He was a married man with a family. If people found out he frequented Brilliant Foot Spa, it would mean he had a corrupt lifestyle. Promotion would be out of the question. The most crucial thing was, very few people knew about his visits to Splendid Foot Spa. The handful who did know him should never have used this against him, because those individuals, like him, had once spent money like water at Splendid Foot Spa. They're all in the same boat. Why would they threaten each other over this? But if not them, then who? Despite the bitter cold, a thin sheen of cold sweat broke out on Ning Changha's forehead. The person who sent this text knows I frequent the Splendid Foot Spa. So, could they also know about the bribe money? Ning Changha grew increasingly terrified with each thought. If these matters were to be exposed, forget promotion, he'd be thrown in jail. At that moment, Ning Changha's legs went weak. Calm down, calm down. Ning Changha took a deep breath and picked up his phone again. The text message warned him not to bully people too much. But who had he bullied lately? Ning Changha pondered carefully. Could it be Joe Schwer?